Dylan, this clap is for you. It is
No,
for
it is
the
not.
winner of Big Brother. No, it is.
That's who it's
because
for.
as we will talk, I think this is the first time ever this has happened where either of us on Recipe for Reality have correctly predicted, against all odds, the winner of a reality show. And boy, howdy, did you predict correctly. My God. Welcome everybody.
We've taken our fair share of L's. The closest I got to a W was Ricard in 41, Survivor 41. But Zach famously picked the first boot of Survivor 42. I famously picked the first boot of Dancing with the Stars, BB24. This was... our first boot prediction for BB24 was Turner, and he went on to be Final 3. But this is the first time ever.
But my winner pick was first boot. I mean,
oh my God,
we'll talk. But can we consider that first boot? Because I think that would have been like picking Jackson to win. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I would take it as a first boot.
I just want to acknowledge one thing before we get into it. Welcome to Recipe for Reality. I'm Dylan. This is Zach.
We're hi.
We are talking a lot of things this episode. Mostly, we're going to focus on the Big Brother finale that just happened and the Survivor premiere that just happened, because those are like the two hot shows. We'll also, at the very end, just briefly recap Amazing Race, Bachelorette, and Dancing with the Stars. We have our own scores for that. We won't really go into depth. But Big Brother, I mean, just give me a second. I just need to flex for a moment. Everyone, please. My winner pick, which is hilarious because you put her in your bottom 5, is Taylor. I like Taylor. I really like Taylor.
Wow.
She's the person I think is just the most well-rounded going in and seems to be the least threatening of the two people that are most well-rounded. Her and Michael are the most well-rounded, but I think Taylor just is going to be able to control her threat level better. I think she's going to be able to get with the girls. I think this is a girl power season, though. So if Taylor and Paloma are the final two, we're in for a good season because those are our predictions.
Well, I guess we're going to find out starting tonight.
Yeah. That was filmed hours before the premiere. And that week, let's just talk about that first week. Your girl Paloma is running the house.
Oh, God.
My girl Taylor is on the block as the target. She goes home if Paloma doesn't go home. And obviously there was going to be that competition, the backstage competition, so Taylor likely would have survived anyway, but she was going to be the first one voted out.
No, we don't know. We don't know. We will, and that's the thing, is that we will never truly know, because we don't know what that competition really was going to be.
Well, she beat Alyssa, so the assumption would be that she'd also beat Paloma, but even then, if Paloma goes and they still have Alyssa, it changes the whole trajectory of the house. So Paloma, your winner pick, sacrificing her game, is what allowed my winner pick to win. Because that first week was the first hurdle, and then, honestly, she jumped so many hurdles since. Daniel, Nicole. We saw a lot of a great apology from Nicole, which we'll get to in a sec. But or at least what I assume was an apology, because there was an extended talk of them talking right outside the house. But she hurdled so much, and to see her sitting on finale night was huge. To see her not have to win, but be taken to finale night, we'll talk about that as well, because there is a chance she comes in third place, a very good chance she comes in third place. And then to see her win, not just win, but get the votes of Kyle. Get the votes of Terrence. Get the vote of Jasmine, who hated her all season. And then only lose Turner's vote, Turner being the only person who really didn't.
Which I think is such a poor move on Turner's part. And it only goes to show that a poor move on Turner's part, mainly because this is where I feel that Turner, or Monty, is lucky that he had Turner at all, because Turner really, I don't think Turner shielded Monty, but Turner really was Monty's crutch for the latter half of the season. Mm-hmm. He doesn't go far. He doesn't make it to finale night, I don't think, without Turner. Only because save for his wins competition wise, obviously, but I think that's a little bit different. I don't think he makes it to finale night without Turner, because Turner at every turn, at every corner, had Monty's back, when in the end he never had Turner's truly and honestly. And I think that, to bring
but Turner didn't necessarily know that. And so I don't blame him for voting for Monty to win. I don't think that was a bad move, because also it's not a move. It's just personal. It's just
it's just personal, and I think that,
And I think Turner also read the room. I think he kind of saw that it was leaning Taylor's favor, so he's probably thinking, I'll throw a bone.
How does it? Listen, man. How does it not lead let's get into the episode because we have so much that we want to talk about.
The competitions are actually the first two competitions are the most kind of we knew it was coming beforehand because it happened on the feeds. But Taylor is the first one out of the first one, which is endurance, which I was surprised to see.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you just had to hold on to the wiener, that's one thing. But the fact that it was going back and forth, it was a very interesting competition. The wiener kind of jerking around, basically, jerking the wiener. I mean, I'm sure they wanted that conversation. But it was like riding a mechanical bull. So I can see how if you're lighter, it doesn't always help. But then again, Turner held on. So I don't know. But yeah, Turner wins that second comp. It's a mental comp. Monty beats Taylor by like 40 seconds. Like the thing is, Taylor's always
20 seconds.
20 seconds. But again, even then, Monty is just naturally a little bit faster. Like he can use that muscle strike to propel himself across the zip line faster. But that's an interesting predicament is the third one. Because in my eyes, if I'm Monty, I'm going to the final two with either person. Either one's going to take me. Taylor takes me. Turner takes me.
Him winning was all right, everybody. Let's start to talk about Monty.
Let me finish my thought because Monty we saw got Turner's vote even if he cut him. So really, it didn't really matter that much. The problem is that Monty, by winning that competition, screwed himself because he chose Taylor thinking the jury was on Turner's path. And that's just his own assumption is you just never know what the jury's thinking. You never know if they're going to be bitter toward which people. So I don't blame him for thinking that the jury was pro-Turner because honestly, Turner, and we'll get to it when we go through all the players at the very end because I want to go through each player and give them a letter grade for the season. I think Turner all around played the best game in terms of managing threat level, winning when they needed to, and making big moves. I think Turner did the best job of anyone. Jury management is the weakest aspect for Turner. But I think Turner, in terms of just navigating the game, it reminded me of Paul in BB18. He was just always kind of like dancing in the right circles without being the center of attention. But even when he was in power, he wasn't the most glaring threat. And I really think Turner did that well. So I think Monty seeing that is like, oh, he's the biggest threat. I don't want to sit next to him, which is fine because you're looking at Taylor, who's only won 2 comps. She, on paper, judging by what Big Brother has been, is the easy beat. But he didn't underestimate how well-spoken Taylor was, and that's what the jury was really looking for is the story and what they want as a representation for their winner of the season. Now, here's the thing. Turner winning takes Monty. Taylor winning takes Monty. So Monty should have just thrown these comps. Monty didn't even win these comps.
That's where I was going with. So Monty, I think, again, like you said, we'll get to the grade, but Monty plays a nearly flawless game up until this episode. And he really, and through the competitions just as a whole throughout the last week, because like you said, and I couldn't agree more, part of Big Brother is knowing when to win and when to let someone else win, right? Well, that's why Xavier won, and that's why we see Michael go so far. That's unfortunately that is unfortunately the downfall of Michael at his double eviction. That's why so many good players realize like when it's important to win versus when it's Derek is the prime example of knowing when to win versus when you don't need to. Because literally Monty had the Derek position and became the BB16 Derek position and became the Cody instead, which I think is his biggest problem. You don't need to win part 1. You don't need to win part 2 because both people up there are going to take you to the end. And both people up there have made both of your final 3 housemates have made it clear, I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you no matter what because because I think that and both of them said, I'm willing to lose to you. Both of them said that.
They both said like, literally, you're going to beat me 100%, and
I'm going to lose, and I'd rather lose to you.
And that's why I don't know why you would ever put yourself in the winning position because then you're breaking an alliance. You're breaking trust.
And that's why. And again, it didn't really matter for Turner's vote. But then even tonight with his speeches, what tonight proved and what I'm very happy about is that you have Monty, and we talked about this a couple of different times on the show. What matters most, your competition wins or your social game? What I love about this season is that it proves that, sure, you need a resume, but what matters above all else is you need to be able to handle the people in the you need to be able to handle your housemates.
Each season's different. You have to play your season, and that's right. Big Brother 19, Paul was playing a season full of bitter jurors. They didn't know that.
And even 18, they weren't as bitter as 19, but still, when people feel gutted and they feel betrayed, they're never going to vote for you. Mm-hmm. What Taylor managed to do, and this is what I think, once again, is Monty's issue. When you're sitting at Final Four and you have Brittany and Taylor, or you have Brittany and Turner, and this is why I said it, why would you ever bring Turner? If you cut Turner at Final Four, you prove that you want to win. And that's the point where you go, because if we're sitting in a Final Three situation where it's Brittany, Taylor, and Monty, I think Monty finally has the ability to be. That's where in his speech he can be like, not only did I win and control all of these votes, I made a tough decision and cut my friend at Final Four, because if I brought him to the end, I risk losing to him. Whereas bringing Taylor and Brittany, he thinks they don't have anything that they can say. Right. To be honest, if I'm Monty, I bring Brittany all the way to the end. Yeah. That's the thing problem, right?
Though, and I've always defended this. Brittany wins that final competition. She takes Taylor, and Monty doesn't even get to the final. So I think Monty positioned himself best to get to the final two. The only problem is that, and I don't even think Monty's biggest mistake is taking Turner and Taylor there. I think it's winning, because winning that competition, he has to betray one of the two. He's lucky Turner didn't turn around and say, fuck you, Monty, because he very well could have. The thing is, if he cuts Taylor absolutely shreds Monty a new one, and Turner might win. The thing is, I think Monty's biggest mistake in this game is just not reading the jury and not realizing that Turner was not as big of a threat as Taylor. Because if he reads that jury correctly and Monty takes Turner and cuts Taylor, Taylor's probably pissed off at Monty, but I think most of the jury still votes Monty over Turner. I think that's his biggest mistake, is taking Taylor over Turner. I don't think it's anything other than that. I think that is his biggest blunder, is at the very end, because he was making that his big game move. It's like, I got out the biggest threat, Turner, but the jury's looking at him like, he wasn't your biggest threat. Taylor was your biggest threat. You should have taken out Taylor. And I think that's the biggest mistake. I don't think surrounding himself with Turner and Taylor was a bad move, because he's guaranteed final two that way. I think the bad move is then winning the competition to then have to show your cards and show that you weren't loyal to Turner. Right. And that was the one thing you were riding on.
Right. I think that Turner, I think getting rid of Turner is probably top 3 worst moves that he could have made in the game. First, I think the first bad move he made was bringing Brittany. And I will stand on that, because I just think that Brittany is a better Brittany. You still make the same move in cutting Turner, and you can still say that. I don't think there's any world where Brittany maybe beats him at that final part 3 HOH. Mm-hmm. I know that there's always like a possibility, but I just truly, we watched her. She is worse at competitions than Turner ever has been. And even though it's a risk,
but the competition also was so well. Also, you got to think of 3 parts, because part 1, I think Monty would then win over Brittany and Taylor.
That's what 2, I mean.
I think Taylor would probably beat Brittany, so maybe you're right. But if Brittany gets to part 3, I think Brittany could have won part 3 though, because it was all just answering questions about the jurors, and I think Brittany actually had the best social game in terms of getting to know the jurors.
I just don't think Brittany ever gets to part 3. That's what I'm saying. I think that, great. She wins that one veto. Her veto wins have been a lot of flukes, and competition wise,
a lot of it.
We talked about it. Yeah. Brittany, Taylor versus Brittany, Taylor's probably going to win. Brittany versus Monty, Monty's going to win in competitions. I'm talking. Yeah. I think that Monty's biggest. I think the biggest blunder is not even necessarily cutting Turner. It's the putting yourself in the scenario that you never needed to be in. You throw the competition to Turner. You look at Taylor and you say, I had to do what I had to do. And then
you don't even have to say you threw it either. You just literally lose it purposely. Right. Turner takes it because the thing is, he didn't know the jury was feeling this way, but the jury would look at it and be like, well, Monty and Turner, I think Monty played a better game. Monty would probably win almost unanimously. Maybe Alyssa would vote for Turner or something, but I really think, because then Taylor's not mad at Monty if Turner picks Monty. Taylor would just be like, okay, I'm voting for Monty. And I think that's the thing, is like Monty would have won in a landslide against Turner, just Monty didn't know. And I think that's just knowing your jury and knowing the season. Like you said, you have to play your season, and Monty just didn't know that the jury was going to lean toward Turner. But in his eyes, I don't blame him for thinking the jury thought Turner was the biggest jury threat, because like I said, Turner, I think, has played one of the best games of the season.
But this is, I agree with you on that. And this is also why, so a lot of people on Twitter were saying that Monty played the best game. And I'm going to speak and say, I surely disagree. I disagree entirely. I don't think Monty played a bad game, but I certainly don't think it was the best game in the house. And here's why. Taylor never lied about her profession. She spoke on her profession. In fact, she spoke on it quite a bit. Here's the problem. Like most men, as we can attest, you gotta listen. And this is why Social Game is so important. That girl is a pageant winner. Literally, like Miss Michigan. You had to, if you're worth your salt, you know that if you set her up to talk, Big Brother, the early half of Big Brother is about winning competitions, talking your way through people to get
and building a foundation.
And building the foundation. But what matters the most is sitting in the final 2 chairs. The final 2 chairs are not built off of competition. They are not built off of your HOH wins. They are not built off of your veto wins. They are built of how well you speak to people. And that's why...
I'm listening. I'm just going to grab my AC remote because I'm sweating.
One of the things that, when I talk to my friends who love this game and we talk about how we play, this is why I say all the time, get me in the final 2 chairs and I'll win. And I wholeheartedly believe that, because if you know how to speak to people and you know how to take ownership of your game, you know how to spin your story, which is what Taylor the whole season was waiting to do. Yeah. And that's what makes her such a good winner and what made her such a good player, right? A lot of people were sitting there. I follow Spoiler Girl. I don't know if you follow Spoiler Girl, whatever. I do. Spoiler Girl's whole thing throughout this whole season has Monty played the best game. People were talking about when Taylor made her showmance with Monty that it was a necessary move, and she was like, she doesn't need to be Monty's be in a relationship with Monty in order. She just needs to win to get herself to the end. What no one seems to understand, except for the fans who were disagreeing with her, what Spoiler Girl and most fans don't seem to understand is that it's not about winning to get yourself to the end. What matters is just getting there. Getting there is all that matters. If you can get there, you deserve to win. Then you have to prove how badly you deserve to win. And that's what's so good. I want to let you talk about her speeches because boy howdy, there's some of the best. I would go so far to say it's the best speech that a final 2 contestant has ever said.
And I think this modern day Big Brother,
I'm turning mine on now.
I've always said the jury system was flawed in the fact that they need more time to actually question and have a conversation with the final 2 rather than just question answer. And I think that's something Survivor has pivoted to. Survivor used to be that question answer, but there would still kind of be a back and forth. And now it's fully an open form. Jurors are allowed to just kind of interject and be like, wait, but what about this and this? And it's really a grilling. And I know on live TV, you can't get the luxury of a long conversation like you can on Survivor. But I think what I like about this speech is that I think rarely we see a speech change minds. I think this speech changed Kyle's mind. I think it definitely changed Terrence's mind. No, I think Joseph was locked into Taylor before.
I don't mean that it didn't, like, that people who were already Taylor didn't have their mind changed. I think it solidified. It did everything. It solidified the people who already were going to do it and changed those who weren't.
I think there were people that were fully voting Monty either way. And then Terrence, Kyle, and I think maybe Alyssa were definitely going to vote for Monty. I think Taylor's vote swayed them because you hear Taylor say, or Alyssa say, it's time to take our power back. Terrence even says something complimentary that I thought was going to be toward Monty. The only one I honestly thought she had swayed Turner as well, because when Turner asked that question to Monty of why should I give you my vote when you cut me? Monty kind of gave a half-assed answer. It was it was because of you and Kyle's final 2. And I'm like, because of you and Kyle's final, it just was a weird answer. But at the end of the day, I think Turner was going to vote for Monty no matter what. Right. And I really do think it was going to be a closer vote. I think it could have been a 5-4 vote. And even Michael in the jury segment was all pro Monty. He was like, Monty's made the best moves. And Taylor's going to really have to prove herself in her words. And I think Brittany as well. I think Brittany was like, honestly, I love Taylor, but she needs to sell herself. And I really think this is the first time in a long time where the jury questioning has fully changed the mind of the jurors. I think even in Tyler and Casey, that was a close vote. Paul and Nicole, and Josh, I still think going into that night, there were very few jury votes that were really up in the air. I think they all knew going into that night who they were voting for. I really think we could have seen a 5-4 vote. I still think Taylor wins either way because I still think Michael and Brittany end up leaning toward her either way. But you guaranteed Terrence, Alyssa, and Kyle with that speech. And the fact that you had Indy and Jasmine before the night even started was impressive. And the fact that Jasmine was
Right.
like, I'm going to vote for someone that could do what I couldn't and that I failed to do. That was a great moment for Jasmine too. I love Jasmine in this finale because she was finally saying, you know what, I have a lot to do to grow, and this is going to be my first step in doing that. And I really love just how this speech kind of brought up the whole theme of the season, and that is that this was not a season rooted in physical gameplay, because honestly, there was one person who won all the competitions. Yes, Turner and Monty won some big competitions at the end, but it
really was Michael.
The dominant competition
it was really
Michael, and when it wasn't Michael, it was still someone in Michael's alliance, the Leftovers. It was either Kyle, it was Monty at that one point. The Leftovers, even Taylor when she won her HOH, it was in the Leftovers. The Leftovers dominated the middle portion of the season. Monty and Turner dominated the end of it, but I think the thing is, going fully on like physical resume, Michael had the best resume of the season, and you can't take that away from him. Resume should not be the thing you're trying to sell yourself for. And the fact that Monty 100%. Kept going back to a move that happened pre-jury with Nicole and Daniel, I get it was a big move because he had to basically try to get Michael and Brittany safe and get Daniel to use the veto to get out Nicole. That was a huge blunder on Daniel's part, and he was instrumental and monumental.
But Daniel's not voting. But Daniel's not voting.
So long ago that the jury, that's not what's in their mind. The jury is thinking about the present and the now. Taylor, what she did is she took those pre-jury experiences, but then proceeded to bring them to the now and show the evolution. Monty stopped at jury in his speech and then picked it back up with Turner. He wasn't even talking about the Michael move in his jury questioning. He was saying, my biggest moves were the Nicole move.
Big mistake.
Yeah,
that's another big. That's the third biggest mistake. Honestly,
his biggest thing was the Nicole move and the getting Turner out. He should have spent more time focusing on Michael, because I think at that point, that's another reason I say Monty's biggest flub was not reading the jury right. He should have known that Michael and Brittany were teetering, because honestly, I do think Brittany was teetering, because Julie asked her in her questioning when she went home, she goes, what do you think about that? Because Taylor in her goodbye messages was like, I'm going to make sure a woman wins the season. I'm taking it home for you. And Brittany was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I love her, but I'm going to vote for who played the best game. And in that moment, I said, yeah, Brittany's not sold on Taylor right now. And I honestly believe if Monty had sold that move better and played more to Michael and Brittany, maybe he gets Brittany's vote. But I think the thing is, Taylor knew exactly what to build her story on, because every story is different. Turner is different than Monty, is different than Taylor. They all played, in my opinion, great games. I honestly think a lot of them play better games than Michael. Michael has the resume, but like I said in my clip preseason, Michael can't manage his threat level well. And I love Michael, but it's true. He couldn't manage his threat level. He started winning and didn't ease the brakes. And I think that's the problem with Michael's game. Turner and Monty turned it on when they needed to, got in the right clicks when they needed to, but Taylor did the smart approach of making other people see just a different side of the game and say, hey, do you want to keep this boring gameplay up? Because enough of them are super fans to know that Big Brother's gotten kind of stagnant. You vote for the guy who's just done the most. And yes, last year it should have been Xavier. He did the most. But even then, last year, I thought Derek F's best move was his jury speech, because he was honestly playing to the jury really well. It's just the fact that he had nothing to sell them, but he was a better salesman. He was a better salesman than Xavier. It's just Xavier had to sell better stuff than Derek. Well, and I think that's the thing is, at the end, you bring up such a good point. Getting there is half the battle. Selling yourself is the real winner ticket.
It's so rare that at Final 2 and on finale night, because I mean, again, I've not watched for as long as you have, but I quickly became a super fan because of things like Eviction Night and because of the social game. You know me, and you know that one of my favorite things to do is talk. And you know I love talking to people. That's what I love so much about Big Brother, and that's why we do this, right? So it's so rare on a finale night that we see speeches, because truthfully and honestly, speeches usually work more against anyone in the final 2 than they ever work for. You know how much I love Tyler. I was going to say, you know how much I love Tyler Crispin, but Tyler Crispin flubs up his final 2 speech. And that was truly one of the things where I was like, you need to give your finalists more time to speak on their game, because what Tyler can't do in 2 minutes is, talk about how he orchestrated and masterminded everything. But what we now see, and again, what this showed is that if you were watching the feeds for the entire last 2 weeks, every day Taylor is practicing that finale speech. Every day. She was, at some point during the day, she was practicing, and she was saying, I'm gonna get there, and it doesn't really matter if I get there or not, because if I'm not prepared when I get there, it's not gonna matter. Monty knew he was going. He knew he was getting there. but he never prepped for what would happen when he got there. And the same is true for Turner.
Because he thought
Turner
he was going to easily win against Taylor.
Right.
He thought the tough point was going to be Turner, and he probably had a speech against Turner ready if Turner took him. He probably had his speech ready to go for that.
Right. And that's the thing, is that what we saw what it means to, it's so easy to call Taylor a floater or a coaster because she only wins a couple of HOHs and a couple of vetoes. But again, I disagree. I think
when you're on the block 6 times, how can you float? I mean,
and that's the thing, is that, so here we are, right? People,
because you're not a pawn those 6 times either. That's the difference. You're not Spencer Lawson for Big Brother 15.
You are not a
You're
pawn.
on the block as a target half those times.
And the thing about it is, you look at, I don't want to keep talking about Monty because I don't think Monty is the focus of tonight. I think Taylor is the focus 110%. I mean, she's one America's favorite player.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Nina commented, she's like, I can't believe she won both. I can't either. We'll talk about that in a second.
And this is what matters the most to me, right? So I had Taylor gone so early in the game, which was just such a mistake, and I can't believe that I've had such bad reads on all of these shows this whole season. And honestly,
but you were right until Paloma left. You would have been right because Taylor at the gate was intimidating to the women because the women had preconceived notions about pageant queens.
And to be honest, first of all, as they should have, but also that's what they seemed, what the game of Big Brother, and why I love it so much and why I think it works so well, because there's Survivor, Big Brother, and Amazing Race are so different as concepts. The thing about Big Brother that I think, just again, we talk about it all the time, you're Survivor first as respectfully. I'm Big Brother first respectfully. Like, one of the things that for me that drives it forward is how someone like Taylor, who walks in the gate week 1 full on target, everyone thinks you are out of here. Someone who consistently over and over and over again is seen as a threat and somehow doesn't manage to go home. She hid so well. Nobody probably thought that she was, and nobody thought that she was getting to the end. Nobody. Daniel never gave up. Literally, Daniel never gave up on the fact that he was like, she shouldn't be there. She's not a good enough player. And she said to him on the way out, I'll see you finale night. And boy, and she walked out with an almost clean sweep. And the only reason, I agree with you, the only reason she doesn't actually sweep is because Turner's like, I'm reading this room and I can't let him get none. I can't let him get 0. And
yeah, because he even says he made the decision 0.5 seconds ago, because I think when he's voted off, he's like, I still respect Monty. I'm still going to give him the win. He hears Taylor's speech. He's like, I got to vote for her to win. And then he goes, yeah, but I got to vote for Monty because he would have done the same for me.
Right. And I think Taylor's best overall move of the summer is never, ever letting up on her personality, because without her personality, she doesn't get to the end. Like it's very rare in Big Brother that you see someone who is not only not the best competition threat, but someone who knows that and then knows exactly how to get themselves keep going from week to week. Mm-hmm. Taylor had a plan every single week. Sure, that first week you can't even really count in my mind, because it's impossible to know how to get yourself out of something week 1. And the truth is, Michael was the one who was supposed to go home week 1 anyway. Yeah. The only reason
crazy that he ends up being the comp piece of the season and Taylor ends up winning is that they were the two who were supposed to go.
This house had great reads on the people in it. The problem is, at some point they stopped reading and thought, well, if Michael gets to the end, he's going to win. And the truth is, it depends who he's there with, right? Everyone thinks you got to get Monty out because if he gets to the end, he's going to win. It's who he's there with. Same thing goes for Brittany. Same thing goes for all of the other leftovers.
Until his moment
for
happened.
Turner,
I think Kyle was honestly the best position to win until Direfest for sure.
They all didn't know how to handle themselves, and that's what's so important in this game. It's not your competitions. It's not your big moves. Big moves and resume. It's how you handle yourself. It's like you said, Michael is a great player. I think Michael is probably top 10 to play of all time. and his biggest flaw is that he doesn't know how to handle the target on his back. Monty is a great player, and Turner is a great player, but the truth is they don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to handle their moves, and they don't know how to own their moves either. If all Monty has to do to sway one or two more people's minds in the jury tonight is go, you guys, I wasn't going to be the winner. I wasn't even going to be here if Michael wasn't here, if Michael was still in this house. But you all saw it because he knows that they can see it. You saw who got him out that night. If I don't take Alyssa off, Turner can't put him up. So all I had to do was keep someone on. And that Michael goes, you know what? Because Michael said it on his eviction night. You know what? He was right to do that. He was right to do that. Because then even with Taylor's speeches of like, you know, blah, 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 you know what she said. I can't say it better than she did. Monty at least has enough to be like, well, Taylor's right, but does Taylor even get here if Michael is still in the game? And Michael's the only one who knows the answer to that. And he might still vote for Taylor because he's like, no, you know what? It doesn't really matter.
What I was talking about when I was saying the flaws of the modern game is that after Taylor had her speech, no one can rebut it because she was the last speech. And I think that's just the structure of the game, and we got to get used to it. I mean, we've been used to it. And I do hope maybe they take this as like a, you know what? It's more fun when it's more in the moment and spontaneous. Like even the last time I thought about like a finale that was this close to where like I could see jury votes actually swaying, maybe Nicole and Paul, but really maybe, I mean, it goes back all the way to maybe Jordan and Natalie. Like Jordan was not going to win that season going into finale night. No. Kevin gets cut. Kevin was the obvious start to win, and Jordan really sold herself well in the end and had the right people in the jury. But like, you rarely see a jury vote flip this much. And yes, I still think she would have won, but I don't think she would have won by a landslide against Monty. Against Turner, yes, but I don't think she would have won a landslide. Her speech really sold it. So that's the last I'll say about this finale. But I do want to go through each player now and just kind of give them a letter grade. On their season, just say a brief word about them. Let's start, of course, with Paloma. I think she gets a. I honestly think she gets a D- because I don't want to give her an F because she had control in the first game. Like she had control week one. It's just obviously she quit essentially. She left for personal reasons and she was kind of hateful toward Taylor. But I do think, you know, she was in charge of the power structure week one. So I got to give her that. I give her D-.
Paloma gets a W from me, which is withdraw. If you attended a college, or if you are planning on attending a college, when you are doing poorly in a class, and you don't foresee it, you foresee failing or something like that. Not that I think that she foresaw failing. I just think there was no other option for her given what was going on. We wish her the best. The only grade I can give is a W because she presented a lot of promise and we'll never get to know. We'll never get to know.
Moving on now, I'm giving him an F. It's Pooch because I think the only reason he survived, he survives week one is because he got that random draw and he was the backstage boss. And in that backstage boss, he could have made the easy choice of saying like, oh, I'm just going to vote for the people who fell out of the competitions first, except the piercing competition didn't have someone fall first. So we just had to immediately target Brittany. So he got all those people mad at him because he put them backstage. He really sank his social game week one. And week two, he voluntarily went on the block. I think he is definitively the worst player of the season. He gets an F for me.
F. I cannot believe that a person played a game so poorly, especially when he had everything going for him. All he has to do is stay in good with the people he's got week one and just not volunteer and not feel so safe because it's just ridiculous.
Yep. Moving on to Amira.
He's such a bad player.
Amira, honestly, I'm giving a C- because I think C is average, like your average player. I think she is your average player. It's just this season, she just wasn't thinking 2 steps ahead. She was thinking presently. I honestly think if she would return, she would do very well because I think she was very savvy at making the right strategic bonds and social bonds. It's just that the house decided to flip the week she became like the leader of the opposition alliance. Like I really think if the leftovers doesn't form, Amira could very well win the game. But I think C- because obviously she is the second voted out of the season and because she just didn't see 2 steps ahead of her.
I'm gonna give her an F. I can't believe
it.
I really don't think that Amira is a good game player. And what also my biggest reason is when a move is right in front of your face and you feel safe, when you haven't done anything and you still feel safe, you don't have a good read on the game. I agree with you. I think she'd play better now that she understands what it means to like take a look at things from an outside perspective, but she had no perspective this game other than I'm in an alliance, so I should be safe. But she was never working towards keeping herself as a prominent figure in the game, and therefore that's a failing grade for me. I think it was a poorly planned summer.
Yep. Nicole, I'm giving a D- because I think up until the fight, she was honestly positioned pretty well. She had good alliances. She made the smart move of becoming a final two with the first HOH being Daniel. It's just that they couldn't make anything happen of that. So I'm giving her a D-.
I'm going to agree with the D-. Again, I think that she plays well enough in the beginning. But the fact that she allows Paloma's exit to so heavily influence her own game really just brings her down, and she can't. To see someone not be able to navigate their way out of such a tight spot and such a low, a huge fall from where they were is not great gameplay. Before we even get to Daniel, I think for me this first 5 leaving is probably the most not predictable. That's the wrong word.
No,
but the most not predictable, but the most yep, you deserve to go in the order that you left. You deserved that 5. The 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 spots.
I still think Amira is a little bit of a better player than people give her credit for. She just the wrong season. We talk about playing our season, and that leads to Daniel. I give Daniel an F because Daniel actively got rid of his closest ally when he did not need to. If he does not agree to use the power of veto, Alyssa or Indy goes home, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or is it? Alyssa or Indy.
Yep.
So it's like I really think he sunk his ship there, and then after that proceeded to just berate everyone and make himself an islander, a person on an island. He would be great on Survivor because he's great at being on an island of his own. And I'll say this right now: he's the first HOH, and he only got one ally out of it, Nicole. You're the first HOH. He should have been forming a 6-7 person alliance that was super strong. I don't even think he was in post pack. And that's just idiotic to me. So I give him an F. He's also a jerk.
F. I'd give him lower if I could. For someone who is a super fan of the show, clearly has never actually thought how to navigate the game. A super fan knows that you probably never win a first HOH, and if you do, you utilize it. And all he did out of it was try to target 2 different people who he had no reason, and I guess that's that's what happens at first HOH, but he has no recovery from it. He has no recovery from when things happen. He is consistently on the wrong side of the vote. He's consistently a terrible human being to the winner of the season, and has no idea. He just has no social status and no social game, and makes some of the worst moves I've ever seen a player make. Not a real super fan in my eyes.
One thing before we get to the jury, I do want to say on Nicole, I brought it up earlier. I did want to touch on it really quickly. At the end, when Taylor walks out, she hugs a few people, but Nicole, she was hugging for a whole minute, and Nicole was whispering something. I think Nicole really learned the most from going home of what she did wrong and how much she made mistakes, because Daniel doubled down on it on Instagram, and I give Nicole some credit because I think she actually feels remorse and she feels pretty guilty for what she did to Taylor. So I do respect her for that. Indy was kind of a non-entity. I wouldn't give her a D, but I would give her a D+ because she wasn't a bad player, but she just didn't do anything. I just think, I think in a normal season she's dragged further. It just happened to be because of the leftovers. She just was not in the alliance. It was just the next on the totem pole because Taylor didn't want to get rid of Jasmine, which, fair. But yeah, I go D+ here.
I give her a C-. The only reason it's not a D+ is because I think that she makes it farther than anybody else who tried to play harder, and that's got to get, there's something there for that. But I said in my preseason analysis with us, I just didn't see big things from her. I thought that she was not going to be able to navigate the house well, and the truth is that was correct. She had one alliance member, and it was Alyssa. Pretty much, that's it. True alliance member. I guess she has Jasmine and the rest of them, but Alyssa's the only person that she truly actually speaks to and gives things to, and it doesn't benefit her in any way.
And now moving on, I'm gonna give Jasmine a big old D plus.
No.
I think Jasmine honestly was not as poorly positioned, but she never had control. Even on her HOH, it's the Pooch move. That's not her move. That's Pooch's. So like, I think her only move was someone else's undoing rather than her doing. I think she's a fun person to watch in terms of like the Raven quality of like she's just a disaster you love watching unfold. It's like you can't look away from the hurricane even if it's ripping apart all the houses. But like, you know, she's not a good player. So I give her a D plus.
I might. I can't believe
you're gonna give her a big old B for butter beans.
Oh my, no, I wish. No, I'm gonna give her a C plus. I actually think Jasmine's a pretty fun player. She's a good heart of like what Big Brother actually is, and it's about the character. I actually do think that if she's in the right room at the right time, she actually gets to be a part of the leftovers because she's, you know, very enjoyable, and I think she would have left someone for power. I do think that the Pooch move is kind of Pooch's move, but I give her the credit of like, it was the easy move was to like really push people to get rid of Taylor or Michael that week. And instead of doing that, she did go after Pooch as like her own big thing, but she has no jury. She has no post jury way to navigate through the game. And that's really just disappointing. So it's going to be a C plus from me.
Yeah, Joseph, I'm giving a big old B to. I think Joseph actually played a really good game. The only thing is that he was kind of screwed by the twist in the fact that he was with a group of people that he just could not navigate his way out of, and the luck of Terrence getting HOH. I honestly think if that plays out a normal week, if they don't split up, I think Joseph is just fine. I think honestly, Michael wins that HOH and the leftovers are fine. He's honestly, I think, was the best positioned of all the leftovers because Michael, Brittany, and Taylor were on one end, Kyle, Turner, and Monty were on the other. Joseph was kind of teetering on both. Joseph was playing the middleman perfectly until his eviction. The only thing is that I think the lack of Joseph's game is the fact that he's not as big of a fighter and he's not as active of a player, and the fact that he couldn't get himself out of that rut. He tried, but I think he's almost a little too passive in the fact that he lets others kind of take the lead. And then when he needed to fight for himself, it was a little too late. But I honestly think he's a good player. I'd love to see him return. He's a big old B for me because I think he's like above average player. It's just for this season, he didn't quite crack that A tier.
Yeah, I think that Joseph's a B for me as well, and it's just given the twist. The twist happens at such an inconvenient moment for him as a game player, and unfortunately, I mean, he just makes a move a little too late, and he stays loyal to an alliance that he has someone not staying loyal to him doing. And he's out on the side with the wrong people. If he happens to have Michael out there with him, or even like Brittany, I think he doesn't go home. I actually think that he probably navigates and stays home that weekend against Kyle, or that week against Kyle. But just he was dealt a bad hand. And also by the time that he actually starts to make the moves, I don't think that he does a bad job at trying to sell himself. But I think that he just gets a little too flustered, and that just, you know, ruins any shot he has of staying.
Kyle, I'm giving a C because I think he is an average player in the fact that, like, honestly, without the controversy, he plays an honestly pretty good game up until Direfest.
Yeah.
Like, he is in control. I honestly think he's an A player until Direfest. I think Direfest, he kind of just wanted to prioritize his showmance over his alliance, which I think was a stupid move. Did it make for entertainment? Yes. I think, honestly, I appreciate his move because it made the season a little bit more interesting, but I think that's where his game really began to sink into B territory. And then obviously the personal drama, what he said, and the naivete, I think brings him down another peg. But I think, honestly, his lows are like D, F lows, but his highs are A, B lows, or A, B highs, so it kind of averages out to a C. Like, I think he had an average season. His lows were really low, but his highs were really high. I honestly thought going into Direfest, he was still probably the most likely to win of anyone, and I think that just says a lot about him just naturally getting along with people early on, to the fact that America puts him in the top 3 for America's favorite. Like, America still enjoyed him, which I think is a little bit of a misread on America's end, but hey, America liked him enough. Like, he obviously has charisma, but I do think I'm giving him a C for the season because I think he did make some great moves, especially early on in the season, but then really fizzled out 2 weeks before his boot. It's the Paulie Calafiore for me.
Yeah, I give him a D plus, and just because I think that even though it's an entertaining move for an audience, as a game move, it screws the ball on it screws the pooch, so to speak. But I don't think he needs to sacrifice. There he is. I don't think he needs to make that move to try and keep himself safe at Dire Fest. I think I think that's a misread, and it cost him pretty much the entire game. Because if he doesn't speak that way to Terrence and lets everything loose at Joseph was already probably going home no matter what. And he didn't need to do, he didn't need to do any of that work because Terrence didn't see him as a bigger threat than Joseph because of Monty.
Well, the only thing is that Kyle could have just gone leftover strong and tried to get Alyssa on the block, and then him and Turner vote out Alyssa over Joseph. Like, he could have done that. I think his active move was to make sure Alyssa didn't go home more so.
Yeah, but that was not the move that needed to happen. That's what I mean, is that I think it was a misread. It was such a big misread, and for me, that's a game-ending read that separates a top-tier player from a mid-tier player and a low-tier player. And for me, Kyle is not, and just his reads on potential, and again, not even making it about the unfortunate race issue, but there was no reason for him to even have that thought of those alliances because they really had never even been near one another, and that was just such a big misread. I don't think Kyle's as good of a player as people want to give him credit.
Yeah. DJ Showtime, man, I think he's a D. I think he really had no control except for his HOH. And his HOH was interesting. He got out someone who is clearly not aligned with him, so I give him props on that. But I think every other facet of the game he fumbled. I think he did have something insightful to say about the Kyle racism stuff until he doubled down into, but I think we should keep him around to teach him a lesson. It's like, no, you teach him the lesson by sending him home. And I think that's where he, had a little bit of a misread. And I also just don't like the treatment he had toward Taylor, even though he voted for her, which I respect.
Yeah, which is, thank God.
I'm glad he saw the light of day there, but even then, he didn't have any agency in the game except for kind of relying on everyone else.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to give him a D as well. I just think that his HOH is actually pretty successful. He makes a good move in getting out someone he's not aligned with. He makes a great play in trying to get as much information as he can. Then the problem is he does absolutely nothing with it. And he has no use for all. He made such a big deal in the DR of I'm getting all the information. And then I'm like, all right, great. So how are you going to turn these people against each other? And all he did was just allow things to keep occurring around him. And that was just, he doesn't get to the end. He doesn't make it past that week because people know that he was dead weight at a certain point, and that's a sad thing.
Michael, this might be a hot take. I'm giving him a B+.
I knew it. I knew you were not going to give him an A.
Well, here's the thing: is Michael plays a great social game, strategic game, physical game in the pre-jury. But once the jury hits, I think that's where a lot of his blunders come, especially in Dire Fest when he decides to not take the shot at Monty. And he even said he regretted it. And in his speeches with Dr. Will, he even said he was making moves more for Taylor and for other people than he was for himself. And he even admits he could have been making moves for himself. I think, honestly, on a return, Michael would have a much better approach to the game because he would know how to manage his threat level. I've said it from the beginning. I think he needed to win out after Dire Fest because I think the minute he lost a competition, whether it be an HOH or a veto or both, he was going home. And we saw that. And as much as I love him as an entertaining figure, as much as I think he's an iconic figure, I think Janelle is the same way. I think Janelle only made it as far as she did because she won the comps. And I think she's another person who, if she had lost a comp somewhere along the way, they sent her home. Which is why Kaser went home every season. He was on with Janelle before Janelle because, or not All-Stars, but not the second All-Stars, but you know what I mean. I think just when you're such a physical force, you need to win out to the end. That's what Rachel Riley did. Is she was the same way. She couldn't manage her threat level. Just she happened to win those end comps. Michael couldn't win those end comps, and I honestly think that's his biggest blunder is his threat level. That being said, I give him a B+ because yes, he was in great alliances. Yes, if Dire Fest hadn't happened, he would have still been in the majority alliance. And I do think if he makes it to the end, if he does win out, he really convinces a jury piece of cake. But the only thing is that I don't think Michael gets to the end playing the game he plays this season unless he wins every competition. And that's a sad thing. That's just kind of where he was at. But I do love him as a player. I think he's an entertaining person. I just don't think he's like a best player of all time just because of those flaws. Because I think the best players are the Dereks, are the Codys of Big Brother All-Stars, where you're able to kind of be able to coast at times and not have to win everything. And I think that's the difference between them and someone like Michael. And that makes me excited for a return because I think Michael will really refine his game on a return, which he will return.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree with some of the things you said. I still am going to be giving him an A-, not the fullest high, not the highest grade, but I'm definitely giving him an A-. I think that Michael, we've said multiple times tonight, it's not about your competition. It's not about your competitions necessarily your resume, but how you handle it. And I think that what Michael did throughout the season is he has the ability to say if he gets to the end, I won because I needed to and I had to, not just because I wanted to. And sure, there are some where maybe you can throw and you can, do your best. But if you're being targeted week one and you kind of know it, then, it's hard to say, is there really a time where you don't need to win no matter what? Because he's a threat. He was a threat just by walking in the door, which is just like Taylor. And, we do see Taylor obviously navigate it better because she keeps her threat level a little bit more, a little bit lower. But I think Michael as a player, he had the social game. I don't even think not getting out Monty was his worst move in Big Brochella. I think his worst move is not getting Turner out that week after Big Brochella.
I agree.
I think that's his worst move of the game because Turner is the ultimate threat for Michael for a lot of this season. It was. Is it going to be Turner or is it going to be Michael in the end who wins? And the only reason that stops is because of the double eviction, which was always going to be Michael's biggest kind of blunder. And what really, there's never a way for them to know when the double's happening. But if Michael is able to play in the double eviction HOH, I think he wins and I think he stays for the next. I think he navigates his way through the house pretty flawlessly. It's only the fact that they get to the double eviction and they know that this is the only shot that they're going to have to take him out. And so they do it. But I think that the way he handles his eviction speech is brilliant. I think he's a good player on a season with other people who maybe don't play the game better than he does.
I agree.
Or people who can't have him there.
If he's on Big Brother 19 cast, I think he steamrolls it. Yeah,
100%. And if he doesn't have Alyssa there, who literally can't have him there because she won't win. And the same thing goes for who the fuck was still there. I don't think Taylor's on the block. No, Brittany's on the block. Taylor knows that she can't have Michael there, or she might not win because Michael, unlike Monty, still will have the resume, but he knows how to talk and speak around an audience better. I give him an A-. I think he's an amazing player.
Alyssa, I'm going to give a C. I think she's as average as you get. I think her strength is her social game. I think she really did make good bonds to the point where even when we were back from Brochella and Direfest, other threats emerged and she was able to slip through. Like, she's not the biggest target against a Michael or like they could have taken the easy road and sent her home over Terrence or Michael or anything, but she made it as far as she did because I think she had a good social game. And she got into a showmance with someone who was in a lot of power. So I honestly think she had a pretty good game. It's just she never had the power. She never was able to get that power in her own hands. And I think that's her fault. But I think, I think she's a very average player. She's probably the most average player on the season.
Yeah, I give her a C. I don't have much more on that. I just, a lot of the jokes made about her were dead weight. I think her social game is fine. I don't think it's good enough to really even say that she has a social game. I think she only makes her way through because why do you get rid of Alyssa when you can get rid of Michael, when you can get rid of Terrence, when you can get rid of when you can get rid of Joseph, when you can get rid of Kyle, right? There's no real reason to get rid of her because you're never going to be in a situation. I guess you really, anyone can win any competition at any time, but what's the odds that Alyssa's going to beat any of them? It's pretty much zero. And that's the fact that she was even there as long as she was is pretty impressive.
But then again, I always said she has Indy, Jasmine, and Kyle locked every time she sits in the final two. So it's really one of those things where if she makes the final two, she only needs 2 more votes. And that's where I think she actually is a good player. The only thing is I don't know who those 2 votes would be. Brittany, I give her a B-. I think she honestly was in a good power position. I think she started to unravel right before Michael's elimination, but she was smooth sailing until then. I just think after that she was kind of alone and didn't really navigate that too well. But I think Brittany was a fine player. I think she's a B- because I think she really had a strong start.
I'm going to give her a C+, and not because I don't think she's a good game player. I just think that without Michael, Brittany doesn't make it as far. And that's big. That's also why Michael has such a high grade for me as well. I think he was able to carry his alliance members so far. And of course it comes back to bite him in the end because they're the ones who end up getting rid of him. But Brittany specifically, I think that Brittany is such an easy target for a lot of people, and she, you don't necessarily need her. But she also, she talks a little too openly about what she's thinking. And in this game, you need to be very selective with how you navigate things. Game-wise, not of course, like I feel for her in the fact that she now no longer, she lost out on the opportunity to have help with something going on in her life, which is of course heartbreaking. But as a game player, one of the things you have to know is you have to know when to speak and when to listen. And she didn't do enough listening to keep herself rooted as a good player.
We've already talked about the final three, so I'll kind of just go through it a little bit quick. I'm giving Turner an A. I think he navigated the game really well. Half of the game is getting to the end. The other half is selling himself to a jury. He never sold himself to a jury, so we don't know how he would have done. The perception was that the jury was not all a big fan of his game, but I honestly think Turner, he's not the most well-spoken, but I think he still could sell himself to the jury. We'll just never know. In terms of getting to the end, he did everything right he needed to, except for winning that final competition. I really think he was one competition away from sitting in the final two. We don't know how he does in the final two, but I think he navigated the game better than most in the fact that he was able to get by without really being a target. He was never targeted, honestly. The one time he was targeted was by Michael and Brittany, and Michael went back on that. Brittany was the one who was like, we got to get out Turner. And I think that's kind of why Turner is brilliant at this season, is that he's able to get through the game so effortlessly. It's just, I don't know if he would have had that extra oomph to sell himself in the end, but we'll never know. So I give him an A.
I'm going to give Turner, this might be a hot take, but you did your hot takes from now. I'm going to give mine. I'm going to give Turner a B+ to like a B. Okay. Yeah. And mainly because, again, I think that I agree that Turner managed to really handle his threat level well. The problem is he managed it so well that eventually he stopped being a threat. He stopped making moves that really benefited him. His biggest move that benefits him is creating the leftovers. And then he even goes back on it with Joseph outside and says, like, I only made the leftovers because I was HOH that week. And, I don't even think you guys work with me otherwise. But the truth is, like, that is a move to own. And the problem with Turner is that when Turner made moves, even to people in the house, he was never owning them. And to the people outside, they saw his moves as other people's. The move to get Michael out, that was Monty. The move to get, what's it called? He has an opportunity to get Michael out, and who does he get out instead? We see all of these moves that he has the opportunity to make, and instead of making the hard choices, he makes ones that are easy because other people have kind of helped make them for him. He definitely, I would love to have seen what he does in front of a jury. I would love to see him sway and sell himself, but I just think the biggest problem is that he does not overall have the wherewithal to be the winner of the game. He's a great player and probably one of the top 5 of the season for sure. I don't see a path to the end I don't see the path to a winning game for Turner. I see him as a second place, no matter who he sits next to.
Mm-hmm. Monty, I've also spoken a lot on. I'm giving him an A- only because he's one decision away from $750,000. All he has to do is vote out Taylor and he wins, or throw the comp and to Turner, and Turner wins and takes him and he wins. Like, he wins against Turner no matter what.
Yeah.
His big blunder came in the end, and I really think he managed his threat level well throughout, even more so than Turner. Except the only difference is that Turner was never like anyone's huge target, whereas Monty was still kind of talked about as a target earlier on. But that honestly is kind of impressive. It's just, I think at the end of the game he got a little sloppy. But that's all I really have to say. We've talked so much about him.
Yeah, A- for Monty, and it's really because he, like you said, he is literally he is one decision away from $750,000, and he blows it. And it's great for us because we got to see who we wanted to win. But the truth is, he doesn't win. She doesn't win if he makes the right decision, and his read at the end is so terrible. He would have been an A to an A+ player if he had picked Turner.
Yeah. And moving on, of course, to the winner of the season. Going into the night, I would have given her a solid A because I think, obviously she goes home that week 1, even though that's not really her control. And because she would, in the end game, we were kind of thinking like, oh, was her HOH, did she make the right decision getting out Indy? Like, did she really use her HOH effectively? But now in retrospect, seeing that she won the season, I say, yes, she's an A+ because even though she made moves that we would consider blunders, it obviously didn't matter because Indy votes for her in the end. So her HOH proves to be a success. So I'm a big fan of Taylor. I think she played not a perfect game, but for this season, she played as perfect as she could. So big fan. Also, my first winner pick to ever come full circle and actually win on Big Brother. I've done it on Survivor, I think, twice. But on Big Brother and on the show, I've only done it this first time. So I'm very happy for her. What would you give her?
I would give her an A+. I think her final 2 speeches is legendary. I think it's going to be hard to ever really top it. She's well spoken. Taylor is what's great about the game of Big Brother. She is able. The game itself is a social experiment on how to navigate through a house with 15 other strangers, and still win your way to $750,000. And she does that. She goes in with strangers who really have no want for her to be there. They bully her. They call her names. And what she does instead of kind of crumbling and falling into nothing is she takes it and makes it her victory. And one of the things that, she had so many iconic lines from tonight, but I think the one, that really sums everything up perfectly. Hold on. I want to make sure that I get it correct, because if I get it wrong, I'm going to be slaughtered by the people who, quite like myself, all we want is to make sure that she gets the world. I'm gonna try and do this for time's sake. It's something to the effect of, I am not blank, I am a victor. I have to find it because it's gonna drive me nuts. She took all of the things that are, I am not a victim, I am a victor. And that is truly like, that to me is one of the best Big Brother quotes that there could ever be. I am not a victim, I'm a victor, because it would have been very easy to just sit and cry all the time about how she was being treated. And instead she said, fine, you don't want to treat me right, I'm going to win the money instead. And that was beautiful.
There we go. Boom. That's our season. Big Brother 24 is in the books.
I'm upset.
I'm upset that it's over. But again, we're getting more Celebrity Big Brother, hopefully. And hopefully it's better than last time. But, Zach, we still have other shows to talk about. Let's save Survivor to the end because that's like our finishing point. Let's go really quickly through Dancing with the Stars. Just give the scores. Let's give like 30 seconds per person just because why not? I think, this is a worthy group. I'm just going to go in the order I have it here.
Yeah, right.
Actually, no, let's not start there. Let's start at the very beginning of the show. I don't remember who was first. Oh, I know. It was Jordan and Brandon.
Oh, it was good.
Jordan and Brandon. What do you think of Jordan and Brandon?
8. I love them. I thought she was great. I think she's just so wonderful. A surprise, not like a surprise, but like a really wonderful breath of fresh air. She could have gone either way, and she's a beautiful dancer. I love it. It's unexpected.
Yeah. I admit I'm going to start low on a lot of these people because we have so much room to grow.
I'm not.
So I gave her a 6 because I think 6 is like my average. Like she gave a very average opening dance. She brought a lot of charisma. I think she needs some polishing. But I think it was a very fun first dance despite missing a little bit of the flow. Moving on next to this was our first boot prediction, Sam Champion and Cheryl. I'll admit Sam Champion did a very nice Viennese waltz. I still give it a 5 because it was a little Frankenstein-y at times, but this was the right style for him. He's very charismatic. I didn't realize he was as charismatic as he is. He's a very confident older gay man, and he has a relationship with Cheryl as friends for so many years, so I think that's really going to help him. Definitely not the first boot, and I don't think he's going home in the next 2 weeks either. He's
Which
very
shocking.
Good,
we thought we had it with that.
Yeah.
We were like, oh yeah. No, I give him a 5. I think that he did a really, really nice job. I didn't think he was that much of I don't know how much rhythm he has, but I think that, like you said, his charisma is enough to continue for a couple of weeks. I think there are worse dancers on this show, and we'll see him grow.
Yeah. Heidi and Artem, I still don't love this casting choice. I don't think she's really a celebrity, and honestly, I thought this style was a little underwhelming.
Boring. Boring.
It felt like it was holding back. The judges really liked it. They gave her 6s. I'm giving it a 5. I don't think it was right on that level. I thought it was fine, but given how good Artem is, I'm sure she'll grow. But I honestly think she could be one of those like shocking early boots that the judges score a little higher, but that she just doesn't get the votes from America because I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I thought she was about a 5, and like even that's a little generous. I agree with you. I just don't think she's a celebrity, and I don't think that's. This is where the show sometimes frustrates me. Like, did someone drop? Did someone really just not like?
I mean, she was the first name, and now it's her and Charlie. So,
and that's what shocks me is that, like, great, if you want the if you want the daughter, the mother-daughter storyline, that's whatever. But this was not the mother-daughter storyline. This is like. If Lori Loughlin wasn't terrible, we would have had Lori Loughlin and Olivia Jade, and that would have been I think that would have been what they were going for with this. But Heidi's just not a celebrity, and that really bugs me.
Yeah. They have a Hulu show, but again, it's based on the fact that
that's not celebrity. Her daughter is a TikTok star.
Like, but you know who just won? You know whose film won an Oscar is Daniel. Daniel and
my! I got
Daniel.
Chills
we both
just
love
about
Daniel.
this.
The thing is, Daniel and Britt have such a great chemistry, and I gave this a 6 only because again, there's so much room to grow. But I honestly think for being deaf, like this was a really solid first dance. If you had not told me he was deaf, I would have scored it maybe like 5 because I was like, yeah, there were some missteps. There were some synchronization issues, but the fact that he's deaf and dancing this well on week 1 is so impressive. So I had to give him a 6. I thought he did a great job.
I know that you rank low because there's ways for them to grow, but I go by the week. If this was an 8, maybe almost a 9. It was so beautiful. It was beautiful. Awesome. Rachel and I were sitting there and we were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. He is phenomenal. His rhythm, his storytelling as he dances. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm so excited to watch him for the rest of the season.
Next, someone that I thought was honestly a little underscored is Jessie and Alan. I think Jessie has a great charisma and a great bubbly energy. The only thing is that she now needs to restrain it a little bit. I think she was a little all over the place. But I think in terms of entertainment and just how quick she was able to pick up the steps and stuff, I thought she did a good job. I gave it a 5, which is on par with what the judges gave it, despite me saying they underscored her. But I do think she was one of the more entertaining dances, despite not having the technique yet. So I give it a 5.
I'm going to give her about a 6. I agree. I thought she did better than most than others of the night. I thought that it was just a little too erratic. It needs to be pulled back. It needs to be reeled in. But I think there's time for that, and I would like to see if she's able to do that.
Poor Pasha. I mean, they give him Carol Baskin, and then the next year they give him Christina Chiu, who was great but didn't have any fan base. And he was the second boot both times. Now, 3rd season in a row, I fear he's going to be the second boot again. This was actually your first pick for first boot before we brought up Sam Champion, and honestly, I think this would have been a little bit more on the nose because I thought they were terrible. I gave her a 4. But you know, I see why they chose her to stay over what's his name, Jason. But again, like, I think she's there for the entertainment value and the shock value of, oh, she was in prison, now she's turning her life together. Like, I like that story, but it's also like her moves on the dance floor just feels so much more in a different league than everyone else's. It's almost like the Martin Cove thing where it's like you kind of have to judge her on her own. I gave it a 4. I think Pasha's trying his best, but this was kind of a mess.
Sorry, hold on. I just want to make sure. Did you say that you think she is going to go home?
Next, yeah. She didn't go home this week. No.
She went home.
No, it wasn't. The bottom 2, I just watched it the other night. The bottom 2 is Teresa and Pasha and Jason and Peta, and the judges all voted to save.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. I forgot about Jason.
They were voting to save, not to get rid of. Yeah.
Oh, man. No, I just completely forgot that Jason existed. I was like, what are you talking about? For sure thought she went home. I forgot about Jason. Oh my God! Yes, no, okay. I'm still going to give this low. I'm going to give it a little higher than usual. I'm going to give it a 5. I thought that it was. I thought there was a lot more played around with it. I thought it was, the table flip was iconic. They really navigated through that well. But I just don't think she's gonna progress the way that they want her to. And that's going to be tough for her to make her way through.
Next, we have Wayne and Whitney, my winner pick, and your winner pick. He was great. The only thing is that it was a little less cha-cha and a little bit more of like musical theater.
Yeah.
Fine. As an entertainment value, I'd give it an 8, but in terms of that cha-cha, I gave it a 7 because I think it was missing a little bit of that cha-cha content. But again, it doesn't matter because he's such an entertainer and he's going to be so great this season. And I still think, despite other people maybe being a little higher ranked for me on this first round of dancing, I still think he's got really big winner upside, and I could definitely see him winning.
I'm going to say I actually expected more.
Okay.
I really expected more. Not that it wasn't good. I mean, it was great. But from Wayne Brady, who like we have seen now, we know he can navigate a dance floor well enough. I just thought it was a little safe and not really. There wasn't all of his energy into it. I thought his story as to why he's there is incredibly moving, and I hope he brings more of that to the rest of his time on the season, because he's not going anywhere anytime soon for sure.
He's going to be final 6 or 7 at least.
Yeah. I would like to see him bring more of his passion out, and I think that this was nerves, and I would like to now say like, okay, the nerves should be gone, dude. You got to bring that passion every week.
Yeah. What are you giving it?
Oh shoot, I'm 7. A 7.
Okay. We're both on par right there. Next is going to be Cheryl, Laud, and Louis. And I'll admit, I started tearing up when I saw Louis because Louis was on the first season of Dancing with the Stars. He's one of the very few pros who has been with it from the beginning. He took 9 years off and he's back. And I love it because he's an older pro, but he's still got the moves and she's older. And I thought she did a pretty good job. I don't think she's amazing. I gave her a 5 because it's not perfect, but for her age, I was so impressed. She's in her 70s and she did this well. I'm worried when we get faster dances that she's not going to do great, but like, I was impressed for what she is and what given her circumstances.
I'm gonna give her a 4. I didn't love her. I really listen. I love that Louis is here. I love that, and I love their partnership and their friendship together. I think it's beautiful. But I just think that on it's lucky that there are others who are still not as great. As well, the Teresa Giudices, Giudice, whatever. There are a couple more that we haven't really got. I think she'll stay again. I think she might stay a little bit longer than Weatherman Sam because of the partnership, not just because of their ability, and maybe she has a bit more of a fan base than he does. But I just don't see much else grow. I don't foresee much growth from her.
Yeah. Moving on now to the first and only new pro, Coco, and of course Vinny Guadagnino from Jersey Shore. I know I was texting you a bit on premiere night. I hadn't seen it yet, but you and Rachel obviously were bigger fans of this than I was. I don't think this was amazing. I don't think it was the worst dance of the night. I honestly think I don't think
it was amazing.
Teresa was worse. I think Jason was worse, but I do think is his name Jason? Yeah, Jason, who went home.
Yes.
But I do think this was. It was sloppy. It was not good. Like, I gave it a 4. I don't think it's a good dance, but honestly, I appreciate that he's trying, and I thought it was actually entertaining. I'm a little worried only because Coco hasn't been here like the other pros, so maybe she might not be able to transform him the way some others do. I think if he was with someone like Daniela, we could see like a big transformation. I just don't know if they're going to get the time to do that. But his fan base is there, so I still think he's going to last a little longer, but I gave it a 4. I think this was a rough first dance, but I don't think it was the worst.
I don't think he was amazing either. I think that they picked on him. I thought that the judges were unbelievably unfair and biased towards a lot of other partners with regular pros, because this was certainly not the worst dance of the night. They had nothing good to say, which was ridiculous. Jason's dance was so much worse, and so actually, not even Jason's dance was so much worse. Of course,
I know
but,
you have
and I'm not saying, but like Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, I thought did a worse job, and they had nothing but good. 100%. Sorry.
Oh, we watched.
Spoiler alert, everyone.
We'll get there.
No, dude, we'll get there. I give him a 5, maybe a 4 on the lower end, but I'm gonna go and give him a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt. He's not a dancer, and he's navigated through it better than other people did.
Shangela and Gleb. This was my worst take in the fact that like. Going into it, I didn't predict Shangela to be a finalist. Shangela,
you were incorrect, sir.
Not my favorite dance of the night, but like one of them. Like I give this an 8. This is the first 8 of the night I gave. Like this was freaking amazing. And I love how Shangela is showing all the sides of Shangela in both the rehearsal room and here. And I love Gleb for taking this challenge on and being like, yo, first same-sex male partners on the dance floor. And I like that Shangela, obviously the pronouns changed when she is in her whole getup, and I love that. But yeah, like first, biologically male dance partnership, especially in rehearsals. He is presenting as a male in the dance room. And I think that poses a lot of challenges, but I think they're navigating it really well. It was a little sloppy technique-wise, but I think entertainment-wise and just precision, it was really on. I gave it an 8.
Phenomenal. I was like, yes. I said it in the preseason. I literally
you called it.
There are drag queens have more stamina and what's the goddamn word that I use? Not patience. I can't remember. But there's a word. But like, there was no way that it was ever going to be bad. There was no way. I mean, there's a slim chance. But Shangela is such a big name and such a big personality in the drag race world. I do not myself partake, but even I know who Shangela is, and if I know who they are, then they're big. Like, because I just know nothing. I expected big things. We're gonna get big things. I'm pumped to watch.
What do you give this?
8, baby.
Yeah, we both gave it an 8, and it's funny because all the judges gave it a 7. Get with it, judges. Another one that I think the judges underrated was Trevor and Emma. Listen, Trevor looked terrified in the rehearsal, but when it came to the stage, one of the brilliant things that Emma did is use that nervous energy, and they were doing Dancing with Myself, and she made it kind of like this nervous, manic quick step, and I thought it worked. I really enjoyed this. I gave this one a 6 because I really think the two of them had such a fun dynamic. He's obviously terrified, but I think that makes him almost more endearing, and I'm honestly excited to see him grow. I don't think he has a fan base to go super far, but I thought this was a solid first dance. I think the 5s from the judges were unwarranted. I thought it was a good solid 6.
I'm gonna give him a 6 just to be with. You know who he reminds me of? Who he looks like? Luther from the Umbrella Academy, who is also Dick and Charlie from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I do know.
Very, very similar look. I thought he was fine. Again, this is why these are the things where I'm like, Vinny Guadagnino did not do that poorly because he was not the only one who didn't know how to fucking dance. And he's not the only one who doesn't know how to navigate. I just think that they...
I mean, I think
that's what I mean. But that's what I mean.
The only ones who do know how to dance are Charlie, Gabby, Wayne, and to an extent, Shangela.
That's what I mean. Is I'm like, I just think that this was an okay take, but they gave him more leeway than they did Vinny, and that was something that made me a little bit annoyed. But I don't think they did terribly. I think that they deserved it a bit higher than a 5.
Next, our girl Gabby and Val. Gabby did great. I honestly think that the jive needed to be a little lighter and bouncier, and she was a little bit more grounded and in the floor, which is something she can work on. But I thought it was a very solid first dance. I thought this was way above average. I gave this a 7. This was just a solid opening jive. I like the song choice. I like the aesthetic. I think the partnership is there. Obviously, I'm going to be a little harsher on her, on Wayne, on Charlie, because they are coming from a professional, not necessarily dance background, but a professional background of some sort of movement. She kept saying, like, I'm a performer, not a dancer. And I'm like, yeah, but you're a Broncos cheerleader. Like, they do dance. And I get it's not ballroom, but it's still, like, I'm going to judge her a little heavier. But I thought this was great. I gave it a 7.
8, baby. I loved it. I was so excited. When she was on, I was like, this is the entertainment. And this is also one of those things where, like, the Bachelorette, Hannah wasn't a dancer, but she came to play, and that's why she ultimately wins. Gabby's not much of a dancer, but like she said, I mean, again, I do agree that there's dance training in things like cheerleading. My wife is a former cheerleader, and she holds her own on a dance floor and in a dance audition because of that kind of training. But she's a performer, so she knows what to do with her face. And that's the biggest part. That's something for me that was missing from a lot of these dances. A lot of these people are, they're not watching thinking about their face while they dance. And she was there ready to perform. She was so good. I'm excited. I hope she goes far.
Let's get the elephant out of the room now. Joseph and Daniela, tell me your hot take, because I get it. Like, they're not the top of my list. They got a 5, but they got 3 6s. They did a jive. What didn't you like about this?
Iman wasn't great week 1.
No.
But what he did do was he moved around the floor. All he did was pick her up. All he did.
Pick her up. They didn't do any lifts. Did they?
Did they not? They 100% did. They had to have. I watched that. I watched that night. I don't remember. It's been almost a week at this point.
But
he was so. I mean, again, he was so stiff. He didn't navigate the floor well. What are you watching?
I really
what were you watching?
I think you might be confusing him with Jason because honestly, I thought he had a really good flick. Like
I'm gonna watch right now.
He was doing the kicks and flicks. He was. The thing is, I expected him to be nice and stiff because he's this big, massive muscle mass type.
Who is
guy.
it? Daniela and who? Daniela and who?
Joseph Baena.
And who?
Daniela Karagach. Yeah, Joseph Baena. But like I like the kind of flick to it. It was interesting, and he used those arms so well. He was showing off those muscles. I didn't give it a high score. I gave it a 6. It's still just average, but like I really like the way he kind of danced around the floor, like the kicks and stuff. He was really keeping with the choreography. I think the thing with Daniela is that she takes unconventional types like him, like Iman. Like he's much taller than her, yet they kind of felt like they were synchronized and supposed to be dancing together. Like I like how Daniela takes someone who's not a dancer at all. Nelly. Iman Shumpert, this is only her 3rd season, and I already see that in Joseph. I see like that kind of transformation happening. And you feel free to disagree. That's fine. It's just I really liked it. I thought they moved well together. There's a little stiffness but in maybe the upper body, but I think in the footwork, like I think they were keeping up well with one another. Len didn't love this. Len was much more in your camp, but I don't know. I like this. I think it's because I expected it to be so much clunkier. Probably because you, Lori, and Rachel were like, no, this guy sucked. So I was going into it. And you know what? It might be Daniela bias. Daniela is my favorite female pro. But again, I think she is my favorite female pro because she can get this out of some very unconventional dancer types. But I don't know. Are you watching it now?
I'm watching it because I just want to make sure. Okay, I wasn't correct. They don't lift. I think I just have that promo shot of them lifting in my head.
And also he's just a lifter. That's his profession. He's
I'm still gonna give him a 4. I can't believe I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna give him a 4. I did not. I think the thing about Daniela is that Daniela is a phenomenal dancer and she distracts. And not distracts in a bad way. She pulls your focus, and she knows. And one of the things that the pros have to do, and I give her the credit for this. This is why, if I was giving Daniela a score, I'd give her a fucking 9 and a 10 because that's how good of a dancer she is. One of the things a pro has to do is they have to distract from the other things going on that maybe their celebrity does not know how to handle. The thing is, if you just watch him, sure, he's a bit lighter on his feet, but like his stomps are just stomps. There's no fluidity to them. He's doing a lot of kicking, and it's just not great. She is very distracting in the way that she is such a beautiful dancer, and she knows how to showcase herself using her partner. I don't find him impressive, and I think that there are other people who are just not. I mean, again, not worse than Jason. Not worse than Jason, but he is not the worst dance of the night. But I definitely didn't see him as a great. I didn't see this as great. She is amazing. He is just doing a lot with his face, but I don't see his dancing to be that strong.
Well, here's one that we're going to definitely agree on. Jason and Peta, fittingly the worst of the night. I gave him a 3. I thought this was really bad. And because it did feel very much like what you said with Joseph, like that Frankenstein, just very clunky. I mean, that's what this felt like. And it just lacked any sort of oomph, any sort of confidence. Like I didn't get a confidence. And it's sad because Peta also took a break and is finally back, but she'll be fine. She'll be on a future season and probably win again. She's won twice. It's fine. But I like her, but I think the judges made the right call, even though I would have liked to see him grow, whereas I don't think Teresa is going to grow. I think he had more potential to grow, but given these dances, it's a 3. It was bad.
The only reason it's not a 2 or a 1 is because he is not a dancer, and I know that. So, like, I'm going to give him the 3 along with you. But no, I would not do that. But again, the only reason it's not is because he's very clearly not a dancer. But God, this was just rough to watch. It was not good. It wasn't entertaining. It was not. There was no entertainment value to it. It was disappointing, and I honestly don't remember what our reads were off the top of my head, but I think we thought like there would be.
We thought he would get through on the Sex and the City fan base.
Yeah, like I thought he'd have something to survive. I thought he'd have something to help him survive, but I think the truth is,
I thought Teresa would too, though. Because of Real Housewives, like I really thought.
But again, I think we had
like Trevor, Joseph, Sam.
I think we had more faith in the fan base, and I think the fan base just saw it and was like, "Oh, we cannot let this continue.
Yeah.
We can," because I don't think he was going to get much better.
Yeah. Speaking of fan bases, a fan base that I am a part of, the film fan base of Selma Blair, Selma and Sasha.
Wow, this was.
I mean, this one, honestly, there was some stiffness in the transitions at the beginning, but by the end, I was just totally entranced by it. Like, this whole dance was so beautiful, given her condition, the fact that she can't feel her left leg, like, and the fact that she has like MS and she can sometimes slip into these moments where she can't speak, her mouth gets numb, like. That is such a fight and a battle that she's fighting, and she does it so elegantly. And I'm very worried for when we get to the quick step and the jive. And she's dancing a jive this week for Elvis night. So I'm really a little worried. But right now, if she can nail a jive, then I think she's finale material, because she right now has mastered the elegance of the slower dances, and it was beautiful. I gave it an 8. I was weeping by the end of it. I thought it was beautiful. The spin where he had her spinning on the floor, I was chills. I love her, and I thought it was. They're neighbors in real life. They're next door neighbors, and it shows because they have a good trust. I love it.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought that the story and just, I mean, people know about her story already. It's not something that's not broadcast or anything like that. But to see it and to see her own it and use it to. Right, to push herself forward in life and not be held down by it. I mean, it was beautiful, and to do such a beautiful job as well. I mean, it was amazing, start to finish. I gave it an 8. I thought it was amazing.
And finishing the night, of course, and it's Charlie and Mark. Mark, again, maybe teary-eyed to see him back. He's been gone for so long. And Mark just has such an energy to him as a dancer and a choreographer. He's the closest we've gotten to Derek Huff in terms of choreographer. It shows because he choreographed to her strengths. And I like how everyone was like, oh, she's going to just do her TikTok dance shit. And she starts with this, like turn in the air. I don't know the correct terminology. I should. I went to 4 years of ballet training, but she did this turn in the air, and I was like, I think it's called a tour or something like that. I was like, Jesus Christ, like she's got technique, and then she just danced like she was in the finale. And I'm saying it right now. I'm gonna judge her harder because she's a dancer, but I gave it an 8. It was pretty amazing. Like I don't care that she's a great dancer or not. Like she did the best performance. You're giving her a 9. Woo!
9, baby. It was it again. I thought, she'll be fine. No, it was so unbelievably impressive. Like, and impressive to the point where, like, again, we're in a 4-person group chat with my wife and one of our best friends, and even Lori, who was like, I cannot believe that I'm going to vote for D'Amelio if I need to. Like, I swore I wouldn't, but like, it was awesome. She navigates the floor with such poise and grace. She speaks very eloquently as well. She is an impressive. She is what Olivia Jade should have been overall as a person to root for, because they both have kind of the same. I mean, they have the same kind of job as what it is. The reason for being a celebrity is pretty
more so. Yeah.
Right, and I just thought that, like, I was worried I wouldn't be excited to see more of her, and I'm very excited to see how she can. I don't remember if she was in our top 5. I'm almost positive she was in mine.
We both predicted her in the top 4. Yeah,
she should be in the top.
To recap, we both had Wayne, Charlie, and Daniel in our top 4, and then I had Jordan, and you had Shangela.
Yeah, baby. I hope that's real. But I think that, again, to Lori's point, when we were in our group chat, one of the things that she doesn't love about Dancing with the Stars, and I concur, is that Dancing with the Stars, the winners, like Iman, should be the people who are not dancers who become dancers. But I mean, to be as good, JoJo was a dancer who didn't win, and there's still always a possibility that they do not win. But I mean, in week 1, to see how good she is. I mean, JoJo was not this good week 1. This is a finale. This was a finale level dance in week 1.
Yeah, it was. Amazing. Yeah. So to recap, in 16th place, I combined our scores. We do have Jason and Peta. In 13th, we have a tie. We have Teresa and Pasha. We have Cheryl and Louie, and we have Vinny and Coco. In 10th place, tied, we have Sam and Cheryl, we have Heidi and Artem, and we have Joseph and Daniela. In 9th place, we have Jesse and Alan with 11 points. In 8th place, we have Trevor and Emma with 12 points. In 5th place, we have another three-way tie with 14 points for Wayne and Whitney, Jordan and Brandon, and Daniel and Britt. And then in 4th place with 15 points, we have Gabby and Val. In 2nd place, we have a tie with 16 points. We have Shangela and Gleb and Selma and Sasha. And in 1st place with 17 points week 1.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Which is going to be amazing to watch her continue to go. Or she'll have an Olivia Jade shocking boot. Who knows? I don't think it's going to happen. Really quickly, for like a minute, I don't want to spend too much time on it because we can't really break it down. Amazing Race. It was a good first episode. I like the idea of you guys pick a different order in how you do all the tasks. Which was fun because then you can't get a read on who's ahead and who's behind. And I love the shock when Derek X and Claire won the first leg. But again,
my guy.
It's still the first week. We're still getting to know all these teams. Rex Ryan did a good job. They didn't finish in last. They actually finished in middle.
Which is shocking.
Which is great.
Which is shocking.
To see him push that keg through the obstacle course in one go, he's in much better shape than I expected him to be. I called my dad. I was like, "Did you watch Rex Ryan?" He was like, "Fuck Rex Ryan. He sucked as a coach." And I was like, "Oh, you got hot takes," as I'm sure a lot of NFL fans do. But,
there's always.
I'm really excited though. Obviously, we lost the married couple, the two women. I'm gonna pull up just the rankings. There were pictures now because I'm keeping it fresh. And how we do it is the place they got in, we subtract. We basically subtract from 12. So if they had finished 12th, we would have gotten 12 points. But because they were 5 spots away from 12, we did 12 minus 5, which is 7. It would make more sense as we go on. So let's say if Rex Ryan is the next boot, I will get 12 points because I had them in the 11th spot, and Zach would get 11 points because he was 1 away. That's how we were going to rate this. Let's say Derek and Claire get 3rd place. Zach would get 11 points for that because he's 1 away, and I would get 10 points for that because I'm 2 away from the 3rd spot. Does that make sense, Zach? On how I'm going to
it makes sense to me.
Okay, good. As long as it makes sense to you, that's all that matters.
It's based on the actual place that they come in, not where we have them on our ranking. So it's a little bit of both, but like
so let's say the debaters, if the debaters get 5th place, you're going to get 12 points for that. And if the debaters get 10 points, get 10th place, I will get 12 points for that. So it's really like a matter of how far off we were from their position, because we're not going to change this throughout the season. This is what it's going to be. And unfortunately, of course, we did lose the couple. Honestly, I don't have all their names, so I don't know their names just because it's hard to remember so many names. I don't know all their names, but they went home. But let's transition now. Let's save Bachelorette talk till we get to the Bachelor in Paradise premiere, because there's really not a lot to say. It's more about Zach's story, and we'll talk about that when Zach's season premieres. And Tino. I mean, it's everything we predicted, so we don't really have to dwell on it. You've already done the rant.
You didn't pull up the clip, and you should have, because you got your clip today, and I wanted my clip.
Yeah, I'll get the clip for next time for you.
That's fine.
Because I do want to bring it up when we talk about Bachelor in Paradise. We'll talk really quickly because the Bachelorette finale was as we predicted. Gabby got engaged, Rachel and Tino broke up, and Avon showed up to sweep Rachel off her feet, which you predicted. I did not. And then we got the first instinct of Zach as the Bachelor, which is fun. We went from Rachel the Bachelorette to Zach as the Bachelor, which is pretty cool considering you and your wife, your names. So,
isn't it weird?
Let's bring up Survivor. This is the last thing we got to talk about, and we're going to try to do it within like the half hour because we don't want this to be more than 2 hours. But again, more pictures, and look at this. We correctly predicted that we both had the same person in 7th that went home, and we both had the same person here in 16th that went home, which is very interesting. But some very interesting developments on how this all went down, because I'll admit my 18th place, my first boot prediction, she's a lot higher on my second ranking, I'll tell you that. But look at who's at number 1 for both of us. The guy who got the only other vote at Tribal Council and was the only other target, and the guy who lost his vote and told his whole tribe about it. So Zach and I may be in a lot more danger this season on Survivor together than we've ever had been. Usually one of us will have better beats than the other, but hey, let's rank it and see. I haven't done the ranking. I'm going to be doing it on the fly. So are you, I believe. So
I'm very much doing this on the fly. It's really bad.
Let's start at the top. What we do is now every week we're going to rank from 1st to now 17th, going by the tribe dynamic.
You go first because I need a little bit of time.
Let me just recap. Let me recap the tribe dynamics just while we're on it. Of course, we have the blue tribe, which kind of seems like the most solid in terms of challenge performance. They didn't go to challenges. Just some highlights. Cassidy gave a confession about how she wants to play under the radar. Carla is aligned with everyone. She has an alliance with the girls and James. James, who wants to feed off of chaos, but is also losing his pants in the challenge. And then you also have Ryan and Gio kind of figuring out that X, getting the supplies, Ryan being the physical one. You have Gio and Carla connecting about sexuality. And then, of course, you have Lindsay, my first boot prediction, making great alliance with the women. And, of course, with James connecting over the fact that they're Philadelphia people. Lindsay had a really strong first episode. I'm very happy for her, despite putting her last. Yellow Tribe is
the fact that she was literally your first boot.
Yellow Tribe is the one that went to Tribal, but right there it seems like Ellie is calling the shots. It seems like Sammy is the one who's kind of like the brute force. He's also the one that figured out the brain puzzle, so he's not all heft. He's brain as well. But I also saw that confessional where he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm a cremator for pets," and like a lot of people think it's like I'm mean to animals, I'm horrible to animals, but no, I really care about these animals. But figuring out this was like throwing a Shih Tzu in the oven, and I was like, "Whoa, okay." That quote was crazy from Sammy, but Sammy wasn't targeted. It was actually Owen who was targeted for being just kind of not in an alliance. But then, of course, the tribe decided to go for strength rather than alliance, because we see this women alliance form, and as soon as it forms, it falls apart, and Owen is saved, and instead Mariah goes home. And then you also have on that tribe Janine, who is a little weaker, but it was in that women's alliance. You have Ellie, who's kind of running things over there, and then you have Gabler, who made the crazy decision after winning an idol that he can only use at 2 tribal councils, so he's already let one pass by. He decides to instead play his shot in the dark. But luckily Ellie talks him out of that. Ellie's like, "You should not do that." And Gabler's like, "Well, I'm responsible for the loss." And they're like, Ellie's like, "I need you here. Don't do that." So Yellow already getting into a bit of chaos. And then you have Red. Red is kind of like the, not the happy tribe. The Yellow Tribe seems to be the most tightly unified, but the Red Tribe has a lot of the fun personalities. Cody's showing everyone his butt cheek tattoo. You have NECA, who's really connecting with people as like this motherly role. You have Noelle with her amazing story. Justine, who was kind of on the outs, and Cody didn't trust her because she's a salesperson, but she's the first one to make fire, which was big. And then, of course, you have Dwight going and losing his vote, taking that risk, losing his vote. And what I thought was so interesting is that Dwight and Gabler both told their tribes what happened. Gabler told his tribe, "I have an idol," and Dwight told his tribe, "I lost a vote." And I think one of those is a good move, one of those is a bad move. We'll get to it. And then, of course, Jesse, who is the one talking about his upbringing in the gang and what that means. And you start to see like the stories behind all the tattoos that he had removed. And I thought that was a really good personal moment. I think this premiere was really great in showing us.
Yeah, it was fun.
Personal moments from so many people. I feel like I know every single person on the cast. There's not one person where I'm like, who is that again? Like I really feel like I know every single person. But that's the recap. As you, I hope that stalled enough time before we get into our rankings. That was just me trying to fill time, but let's get into the rankings. At number 1, I'm putting him because this is the only week he can play as idol now. The next time he goes to Tribal, I'm putting Gabler, and I can't believe I have him in first, but just we go off of the moment and who's safe in the moment right now, and the only person with an idol is Gabler, and he already went to 1 Tribal, which means he has to use it in the next Tribal. So I don't see why you wouldn't use it. And if he doesn't use it, he deserves to go home. That's how I think of it.
At number 1, I'm going to put Ellie. I think Ellie's in this. The only reason Gabler's not 1 is because I would like to get a couple of points over you if I can at one point. But I think that Ellie clearly is calling shots. She's making good moves. She's got people on her side. I don't think anyone's going to look at her and be like, all right, it's time to get her the fuck out. I think that she's solidified herself as a threat for the game to us, but not to them. And I think that that's a big thing. So I do think that she's going to be I think she'll be safe.
Yeah, I have Ellie pretty high up. I'll get to her in a moment. But in second place, I have Carla, because I honestly think aligning yourself with everyone on your tribe can be a detriment, but not until they vote. Until they vote, she's aligned with everyone. No one's going to target her. Once they vote, I could see her getting in some danger because she's aligned with everyone. She's going to burn some bridges. But I think she's someone right now who has all the power. And Carla's not the person you would think of going into the season to do that. But we were both very high on Carla preseason. I had her predicted.
I like her. I still like her a lot. I still like her a lot, and I still think I think she's in a good spot. She's also my number 2, to be completely honest. I don't see her running into a snag anytime soon, mainly because she's just in such a good spot that I think that other people on her tribe will have a harder time navigating through a tribal before she will. And I don't think that if they get into a tribal this week, she's the one going home.
At number 3, I have I put someone from yellow, blue, and red in my top 3 just because I wanted to pick the safest person from each tribe. In 3, the safest person on the red tribe for me is Jesse. I think he had a really great first episode. He's so soft-spoken that I don't think he's going to be a target, but he has a great personal story that I think can endear people to him. I just don't see him being targeted this early. I think he's got a great social game right now. Everyone wants to work with him. He seems in the center of the drama, but he's not calling the shots, which I like. It seems like Cody's going to try to be like the one running the show, and I think that could hurt him. In the preview, we see them wanting to target Cody, which also means that Cody's probably not going home because they wouldn't show it in the preview if he was. So I think that's good for Cody, but also at the same time, I think Cody's going to be like the more like blatant threat, whereas Jesse can lay low. I really like Jesse. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. I like him as a person. I like him as a player. I don't find much to fault about Jesse. I really like Jesse.
I can't believe I'm going to say it. I still think Dwight's okay. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine. Number 3.
Woo!
I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be okay. I don't listen. I think it's a tough spot to be in. But again, even if you are in a tough spot, the good thing about being in that tough spot is that there's not really any reason to get rid of someone who's got nothing else to lose. You know what I mean? So if you, even without a vote, it's not really pertinent to get rid of them. Because even if you are someone with a vote, if you're someone with a vote, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't go home. That's not a reason to send somebody home. What is a reason to send someone home is that someone who maybe they're aligned with or someone who maybe they've got in their corner doesn't have the vote. And so you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to have enough votes to get out the person you want. So I don't think Dwight's in a great position, but I still think he might be in the best position on the red team overall to not be the one that they send home.
Yeah, that's fair.
Weird logic, but I think it'll be okay.
I do have him much lower, and we'll talk about
I know. It's okay that you do. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. In fourth place, that's where I have Ellie, because I do think Ellie is at the center of that tribe. I'm a little worried. For her in the sense that, you don't want to come out the gate too strong. We saw with Shan that kind of happened on 41, right. But you see people like Omer who had control but didn't become a threat till later. And I still think Ellie could be that threat later, but right now I don't have any reason to believe she'd be in any danger. So she's my number 4.
At number 4, I have Gabler. I think this is where I got to put him. Just again, I think he is safe because he has to use his idol. If he goes to tribal again, there's no reason to not use it. The only reason he wouldn't use it is if he gave it to someone who didn't know about its power, but I don't really think that that's I don't know if that's going to happen. Why would you ever give away an idol? That's the stupidest thing you could do, especially week 2, unless you know for a fact someone that you need here is going home and you kind of screw things around with
if he can make a huge move with the idol, that'd be crazy. But
that'd be great. I don't think it'll happen, but I think he'll be okay. I think he'll survive the week.
Yep. In 5th place, and this is my huge glow up of the day, it's Lindsay. I honestly think of all the blue tribe, Carla's the best position, but Lindsay has the benefit of just being like, I said her plainness would make her stand like an outsider, but I honestly think it's endearing people to her. I think she's just so level-headed. She clearly wants to be there, and she's getting some winner quotes of like, I've waited my whole life for this. I've been auditioning. Like, honestly, after watching this episode, I'm like, she could win. The only worry is the fact that I don't see the mom type winning a lot of the time. Even if they make it to the end, they usually get 2nd or 3rd place. But like right now, I think she's very well positioned. I'm a big fan of Lindsay. I can't wait to see her evolve even more. I love Lindsay.
What are we at, 5?
We're at 5, yeah.
In 5th, I have oh my God, I just blanked for a second. Jesse. I have Jesse in 5th. I think he'll be okay. I think he, again, one of those things about the way that he played is that it's just he is not the person that anybody's really taking a look at right now as like you're going to be a big problem if we get you there. And I think that those players are the ones who end up making it far because you're looking at the people who make waves. And even though I have Dwight a little bit higher, again, I still maintain that Jesse and Dwight sit in a good area where one is not being looked at and one can't vote. And because of that, why would you get rid of them when there are other people to get rid of who maybe present a little bit more of
That's fair.
They grind the gears of the tribe a bit more.
Yep. At number 6, I have Cassidy, and this is my girl. I love Cassidy. I predicted her to be final 3 week 1. I'm not getting winner vibes just because she was a little subtle, but her whole confessional was about how she wanted to be subtle. She wanted to play under the radar and kind of attack at the end, and I kind of like that. And honestly, that gives me some like winner insight of like maybe she can make a strike toward the end. I think she's fine though. Like she doesn't seem to be stirring the pot at all. I think the 3 women on blue are clearly much safer than the 3 men. And that's obvious because I have Carla at 2nd, Lindsay at 5, and Cassie at 6. I think this blue tribe in general is pretty solid. So I really like her chances. I think she's poised to do fairly well.
Yeah, again, at 6 I have Lindsay for very similar reasons as to what you had. I don't think that the women on the blue tribe are really in a bad position. It's the men who really need to be on the lookout. But I think that Lindsay holds herself well enough. I think she's got more wherewithal than we maybe initially gave her credit for, and that has the ability to take her far enough. Do I still think she's a winner? I don't know. I think she definitely probably makes to the merge, but that's about it.
Yeah. At 7th, I have Ryan. Like I just said, I think the men are in more danger on the blue tribe, but I think if the blue tribe loses, and I'm very top heavy on blue because I don't think blue is going anywhere. I think they're the strongest tribe altogether. But blue, I think Ryan, if they do lose, it won't be his fault. And they can't afford to lose him because he is their complete strength. Like we saw him and Gio carrying those boxes, and Gio really was not being able to carry those boxes. It was all Ryan doing the heavy lifting. And I really just think that shows that Ryan is just such a force. He got so much personal content about his cerebral palsy that I'm a little worried that maybe he's going to be an early boot because they keep just showing so much personal footage, but I just can't see it being right now. I don't know why you would waste your first boot on your tribe with your strongest person. And that's why we see Owen stay, is because they needed that strength. As much as Mariah was more of like the person who you build an alliance with, I think Owen was like, we need him more for the strength. And Owen is probably a good ally. Like I think Owen's fine. Spoiler alert, I think he's fine. But
at 7 I have who did I have at 7? We are doing this on the fly and I'm just like, who did I have at 7? At 7 I have Sammy. That's who I had. I actually do think that Sammy will be okay. I think that again he proved his worth to his tribe. And
would you have been able to figure out that bones challenge, like making the number? I didn't even think of it. I was like, the 2 1s, that's genius. And they need him. I was not.
I think they proved that they kind of need him to navigate through these types of challenges, because I don't know what normal person ever would have figured that out. The fact that he did figure that out is unfreaking believable. But also, I think he's getting great at it. I think he's getting a good enough edit right now to kind of showcase that he's sticking around a while. He's not really making waves in the tribe. He's showing worth and showing prospect, and that's big.
In 8th, I have James. Again, another blue man. Like I really think. Actually, I have the whole blue tribe is here except for one. I have James in 8th.
Do you think that you could call them
Carla in 2nd?
The blue man group?
You could. My 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th are all blue. Just because I'm really high on blue. I think blue showed the most connections in terms of relationships. And I think James, despite being this guy who feeds off of chaos, is not bringing that chaos to the tribe yet. He's just kind of telling us, the audience. And James, the good news is he has that tight alliance with Lindsay. I think that'll last him a while. I think he is one of the stronger guys on the tribe, which will help him in the long run. Like, I think James has a lot of upside. The only thing is, like, I have so much blue in this top half. I hope they don't go to tribal because
you'll be screwed if they do.
My bottom is all yellow and red and one blue. So, I'm not really sure. But I think of all the people on blue, James is the second to least safe, but I still think blue is safe enough that I'm going to put him in that top half at number 8.
I'm gonna put at number 8. I'm gonna put Ryan. I'm gonna put Ryan there. Again, you said most of it. I don't necessarily know if Ryan is the winner anymore or even the second place, but I do think that he. I don't foresee the Blue Tribe really facing a lot of adversity right now. I think that they're doing a great job. I think that there's a little less to be desired from some members of the Blue Tribe, but I think that.
I think we might agree there. But we'll see.
I think at the end of the day, Ryan and James are more. Ryan, James, Carla, and Lindsay are more assets than the other two are, and that's big for this early part of the game. You got to be an asset to your tribe, or you are just dead weight, and that's like. I haven't watched as much Survivor as you have, but in the very little Survivor I have watched, the ones who are the dead weight and really don't provide. I mean, it's for the unfortunate exception of Tiffany, but Tiffany was really good at kind of showing her worth socially to the people in her tribe, and that carried her at least up until the merge. And then it was just an easy snip away. When you can't prove your worth, when you can't prove your usefulness, you really just fall apart. And I don't think that Ryan falls into that category, which is why I think he's going to be safe.
Yep. At number 9, I have Nneka. I think we were a little low on her preseason because she was the older lady on her tribe. But on this red tribe, if you look at it, Cody is the kind of all out there one. Dwight is the one risking his vote, has no vote. And then Justine and Noelle are kind of paired up, and Justine is already targeted by Cody. And then you have Nneka and Jesse, who are just kind of around, and everyone likes them. And I think Nneka, I have her lower because, yes, there's a possibility that she tanks the tribe in a challenge. But at the same time, I think that Nneka and Jesse are most well-positioned in the tribe dynamic. So I just don't see the reason they get rid of her. I honestly think she's poised to go pretty far and do well in this game. I don't see her being the next target, despite her being older. I think these older women are actually proving to be big assets, like Lindsay, like Nneka.
Yeah.
So I'm really high on her. I like her a lot after this premiere, despite her getting probably the least amount of content of anyone.
I'm going to give you my 9 and my 10 because you've named my 10 and I'm going to name my 9. My 9th is Jesse and my 10th is Nneka.
You already put Jesse at 5.
Oh my God.
That's okay.
Sorry. Can I go back to my number 5 was not Jesse. This is why I was not prepared. My number 5 was James. My number 9 is Jesse. Because I was talking about, I was like, I have a Blue Tribe member, but Jesse and James, the two Pokemon Team Rocket. No, I think that, the only reason James is at 5 for me rather than the 9th spot where I actually have him right now is I just don't think that he's the problem for the Blue that he needs to be. And I think that there's someone else that Blue would just get rid of because it's less of a problem. Because it's more of a problem and he is less of it. But the reason Jesse is there for me at 9 is because, again, I think that he's set up one of the best in his tribal dynamic, where like Dwight I still have higher mainly because his vote is not there. But even though his vote is not there, there's no reason to get rid of him. Jesse is set up so well. The only reason that he's as low as he is because he presents enough of a threat to be someone who needs to be, someone that you maybe get rid of because you don't want to take him too far. But I don't think that, I don't think that's enough. And then Nneka is at 10 for all the reasons that you said. We don't need to hash it anymore out.
Actually, I'll do my 10 and 11 next now because they're both from the same tribe and they both kind of fill the same dynamic. 10, I have Owen. 11, I have Sammy. I know Owen got the vote, but if you think about it, it was a unanimous vote. Mariah's the only one who voted out Owen. Everyone else was united, and I honestly think this is going to bring Yellow closer. I actually don't know. If Yellow loses again, I don't see them getting rid of Owen or Sammy just because they need the strength. And I think Ellie is running that tribe, and as much as she wants to do an all-girls thing, she has to look at the tribe and say, Gabler and Janine are the two weakest people in my tribe. I need Owen and I need Sammy around. That being said, if there's an idol at play, if something goes crazy, if Janine and Ellie do team up with Gabler, I honestly think Sammy's more vulnerable than Owen because Sammy's more of a wild card. I think Owen you can kind of take under your wing. And the thing I like about Owen getting votes here, I have him at 10th because I'm not confident because he did get a vote. But because he did get a vote, I think his fighting instinct is going to kick in. I think he was just kind of sitting back saying, why isn't anyone strategizing? All right, whatever. Big happy family. And he should have been strategizing because he ended up being the one that was the other option. But I think that's going to kick in his killer instinct, and I think that's going to help him a lot going forward. Sammy is someone that, honestly, I don't agree with you. I don't think he has a good edit in the fact that he had the big moment for his tribe with the brain puzzle, but the fact that they put in that crematorium segment of him being like, throw my Shih Tzu into the oven, I think they're trying to set him up to be a little bit of an idiot, and I think he's going to have a downfall. I don't think it's happening now, but I think.
Oh, I don't think he's going to win. I think he's got a good enough edit to get through the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, I think there could be a shock where we see him go soon. I said earlier that I think Yellow is going to be like kind of the tribe that is decimated, that is kind of narrowed down, that loses a lot of people early on. Like preseason, I predicted that Janine would go, that Mariah would go, that Sammy would go. I predicted all three of them to go, and I said Ellie and Owen, and I predicted Gabler to go early too. I predicted Ellie and Owen to kind of get out of it clear, and I still think that could happen. I could see Yellow losing a lot. The only thing is right now, if they want to prioritize strength, which they seemingly did on the first vote, and if they're smart enough, they'll keep Owen and Sammy around. But I could see Sammy just saying something that kind of just totally fucks up his game. But right now, I have him at the 11th spot because I still think he is safe right now. 11th, who do you have?
At 11, I have Owen. We don't need to harp too much more on it. I think that Owen is actually in a good enough place that he'll have a good run in the show. And a good run in the game, more importantly. But I just think that this was a weird first week fluke, and I don't think he'll make that mistake again. Yeah. It's gonna be important.
It's interesting. Of this bottom 6 I have, 4 of them are red, and then 1 of them is yellow, 1 of them is blue. I don't know how it ended up that way, but like my bottom 3 is like a red, yellow, blue because I want to just keep 1 at the bottom of each. But in the 12 to 14 range, I have 3 red tribe members because this red tribe, while they seem strong, we're getting a lot of motive for sending.
I also have 3 red tribe members. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like, we're getting a lot of motive as to why all of them should go home. Cody is just such a big personality. He's my 12. He's such a big personality. And on the preview, Dwight is saying we got to get rid of Cody. That makes me think Cody's not going anywhere because otherwise they wouldn't have shown it. But Cody's doing cannonballs off the cliff. He's doing crazy shit. He has living on his butt cheek. He's going to be a wild character, and I'm worried he's going to drive his tribe a little crazy, which is why I have him lower, but I still think he's okay. The thing is, we're getting a lot of Cody's perspective on the game in terms of whose targets are, and right now, Justine is his target in the fact that she is a saleswoman, and salespeople are scary to Cody, even though he's a salesperson. And Noelle is closely aligned with Justine, which is why I have Cody at 12, because I still think they need him for strength. But then below that, I have Noelle at 13 and Justine at 14, because I think Noelle and Justine are the easy 2 people on the outs, because you could easily see Cody, Dwight, Jesse, and NECA getting together. The only reason I have Justine and Noelle above another red team member is because Noelle and Justine have a vote, and that's really the only thing saving them. And Justine got the fire, that was great, but I think Noelle and Justine just seem like the outsters on that tribe. If Dwight can spin things and try to get Cody out, great, but I just don't think it's going to happen this early. I think Noelle and Justine are more vulnerable. Justine maybe a little more so, only because Noelle is a real big physical asset. I mean, Noelle and Jesse, I love how they Titanic-ed that puzzle. You know, Jesse stood behind Noelle, and they were like, let's do this. I love that, how they were like Titanic posing, prom posing. But I just worry for all of them. Cody, because he's such a blatant, crazy threat you might want to get rid of. And then Noelle and Justine, just because I didn't feel like they clicked with their tribe at all. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't have any red people going home this week. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you can battle off your 12, 13, 14 if you want.
So my 12, it sucks because it really is very similar because, again, the early game is it's very easy to tell reads. But it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. At 12, I have Cody, very similar to you. I just don't think he'll go home when they're saying that they want to get him out. I don't.
The previews
they would never. You would never give away who's going home in a preview. You would never do that. So I don't foresee that happening. At 13, I have. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate. At 13, I actually have Cassidy, not because I think that she's actually gonna go home. I wanted to keep some people in blue a little bit lower as well.
And Cassidy, she is seemingly the weakest girl on blue.
That's the thing. I think that confessional where she was like, I want to play an under the radar game. I was like, but you don't have much of a game to play because you're not a physical asset. You are not, you're not going to be very vocal and aware in your tribe. and then what do they need you for? Like I think that if I were her, I would start playing a bigger game socially and kind of making sure that you can get more alliances than maybe just with Carla, because otherwise, if Carla's looking at who needs to go home, she looks at her physical assets, she looks at her social assets, and she says, where does Cassidy fall? Not really in either, and that's why I would love to see her go far. I still like her a lot.
The girls and James, like that's Cassidy's best move, but that's all up to Carla.
And that again, she does not control her own fate right now. Others control it for her, and that's never a good position to be in. And then at 14, I have Janine. I think Janine is by far the worst. I'm trying to keep it a little interesting and a little spicy for everyone. I think Janine is by far in the worst position in her tribe. She's not really useful. She's not going to present much of a reason to keep her right now.
She's your lowest yellow. I'm looking at. Yeah.
And I don't think that they need, the only reason that Gabler isn't below her, and that, because honestly, I would have put Gabler at the bottom if I could. Yeah. But it just doesn't make any sense to put him here because he's got safety. So the reason that she's here is because next to Gabler, she is the next useless. I think Ellie knows that even, like you said, even if Ellie wants to do this whole like women's alliance thing, she knows that Janine is not an asset.
She can't now because there's only one other woman,
And that's the thing. Like, you can't keep Janine here when you know that if you need Owen, you need Sammy for intellect. You need the stronger players, and she's smart enough to see that. Yeah. So I don't see Janine staying. The only reason I don't have her at the bottom is because I think you might have her at the bottom, and I want something a little bit different.
You are right, and I don't want to jump to it, but I have one person at the bottom of each tribe. In 15th, I'm only going in the order of how I think these tribes will do in the challenge. So I have Gio at 15th because I think Blue has the least likely chance of going to tribal. But if they
that is also tribal, where he is.
If they go to tribal, though, I really think they could get rid of him because he is clearly not that strong. We saw him not being able to carry that box very well. Ryan was doing the heavy lifting. The thing is, he's aligned with the strongest person, which could help, but it also could be a reason for the girls to say, you know what, let's do the girls thing. Let's get James and let's get out Ryan and Gio. Ryan's stronger. Let's just get out Gio. Like, Gio, it seems like the easiest boot on that tribe. It seems so clear. Yeah. If you're Carla, and honestly, I think they showed so much of Carla and Gio bonding over their sexuality because I think Gio's going to be an early boot, and they wanted to give him some personal content. Because right now, how I'm looking at it is Carla easily can go with the 3 girls and James, because that's what the first alliance was. Still stay on Ryan's good graces because Ryan's the strong guy. And then if they lose again, you know what? We're still strong tribe. Let's get rid of Ryan. Like, we can risk it because we as a 4 are strong. And then if you lose again, maybe it's already the merge. So it doesn't have to matter. I don't think they're going to lose so many times. And if they lose, I think it's okay that they lose one of their quote unquote stronger guys, even though I don't think Gio is one of their stronger guys. That being said, I think Blue has the likeliest chance of staying. So he's my 15th.
I'm so mad at myself because I forgot that there were 17. I forgot about someone. I would have put Janine in this spot.
You have two red people on the bottom, but that's fine because red could very well go to tribal.
And I'm not going to switch only because I just it's the integrity of it. I should have known better. But at 15, I actually have Noelle. Noelle would have been 14 for me. Okay. So she's at 15. She would have been my 14th, and I would have made Janine my 15th. But again, on the integrity of this, I should have known better. But I'll just, the reasoning doesn't change much. I think that Noelle, between Noelle and Justine, Noelle has more physical asset and capability, and you need that right now. And even though even though she's not clicking with her tribe, she's got more ability to do that, and she's not nearly as much of a threat to people like Cody as Justine is for whatever reason, because honestly, Noelle has a story that would sell the jury in a heartbeat, so I don't know why you don't want to get rid of her over Justine. I think the big diversion for the week is not that they're going to get rid of Cody, it's that it's going to be either Noelle or Justine. And
they could even split actually, they can't split the vote because they only have.
No, they can't. And I think I don't think it's going to be Noelle. I think it might come down to Noelle, but I think it's going to be Justine.
So is Justine 16 or 17? Do you still have Gio?
So Gio is my 16th. Okay. I don't think the only reason he's not 17 is because I just don't think Blue's going to go to tribal.
I think they're too strong. I don't think there's any reason to think that he'll go home this week. But if someone is, it would be him from the blue. But for me, it's Justine at 17. I just don't. She's not really useful. So bad.
I mean, she's the one who made the fire, though. So maybe that'll
get
but even then, before then, she was targeted. I get that. Yeah.
Anyone will want to try and make a fire because they know it's a part of the competition at the end of the season. If she was a little bit more of an asset in some other way, for sure. But to make the fire, anyone can use Flint. You just have to learn how to do it. You know what I mean? So that's the big thing for me. I don't think again, I would have had it. In an ideal world, it would have been a red at 17, a blue at 16, a yellow at 15. It didn't happen that way because I messed up like an idiot.
No, it's not.
I think those
red has a good chance of going to tribal. So
right, and I think those three for me. Janine, Justine, and Gio.
That's gonna be tough. I hope one of them goes just for the clarification of Janine versus Justine because it's gonna get crazy.
Literally,
because they're such different people.
But yeah,
I like Justine though. I hope she sticks around because I like her and she's very beautiful. And that always sways me. But it's tough. There's only so many spots. Actually, in the lowest position at 16th for red, I have Dwight, and I know you're a little bit biased because he's your winner pick, and you made good arguments as to why he's in a good position, but in my eyes, if I am Justine or Noelle, I pull in NECA or Cody even, and I say, guys, he doesn't have a vote. The only way he survives is if he uses the shot in the dark and gets it, or if he finds an idol. Like, this is the easiest boot. We don't have to worry about any blind sides. Like, it's the easy boot. And honestly, I wish Dwight hadn't told his tribe, because now he offers nothing to them. Nothing. Except for other people saying you owe us if we get you safe, but that's not Dwight's power. That's everyone else. That's for someone like Jesse or Cody to be like, yo, you owe us one if we keep you. I think Dwight is now at the mercy of other people, and I think Dwight is so young that him and Sammy both kind of give off this impression of they're so young that they're a little nearsighted, and I think that is going to be his biggest problem in this game. I think he can bounce back once he gets his vote back. If he is tight with NECA and Jesse, I think it could work really well. Also, he's the one in the preview saying they got to get rid of Cody, and when the guy with no vote is going after arguably the strongest guy on the tribe, that might not be the best thing for him. I do like him, and I want him to survive, so I didn't put him at last place, and because I didn't want to put your winner pick in last, just because I'm not that cruel. But again, I just think if you look at the tribe on paper, he's the most obvious boot. But Survivor is anything but obvious. I think Big Brother is expecting unexpected, but honestly, Survivor is much more unexpected than Big Brother.
Yeah.
And the fact that, honestly, I could see Ellie or Gabler going first because they're our top two. Like, I really think anything can happen. And at 17th, I have Janine only because Yellow has lost. And Yellow has proven that they can keep losing. And I think Yellow, if they lose again, like you said, they're going to prioritize strength again. And I think as much as Sammy and Owen might not fit into Ellie's endgame trajectory, I think Ellie is much more likely to cut Justine because Ellie's got Gabler. Because Gabler is easy to control. He's got the idol. I think Ellie also sees Gabler as an easy beat. But I think Ellie will also pick either Owen or Sammy to go with her. Like, that's her final three is probably like Gabler and then like either Owen or Sammy. And as long as she can make sure that Owen and Sammy aren't taking control out of her hands, that's good to ride with. I don't think Janine offers her much except for loyalty. And Janine is great. I like her as a character, and I liked what she said at the beginning, with her father and how she's making her father proud and all that stuff. But again, it's like she doesn't offer much physically to the tribe, and that's the tribe that needs it now because they're the ones that are losing. And I just think if you look at all these three tribes, they're the most likely to lose. So that's why I have her there. So
agreed.
We're all kind of on the same page, except for like Cassidy and a little bit of Owen and a little bit of Dwight. Actually, no, we're on the same page of Owen. Cassidy and Dwight.
We are on the same.
We're completely flopped on, but otherwise, we are kind of almost on par with one another because I think it's a little more clear cut, especially this first week. It's so hard to tell because we really haven't seen, until you've seen every tribe go to tribal council, you really don't know the dynamics. That's what made 41 so frustrating. Blue never went to tribal, so we didn't know who was on top.
Right. So it was really difficult to know, are we going to be able to take
Sydney?
this?
Exactly. We didn't know who was in power. So that is Survivor. Ellie and Gabler top our lists. We will see how it goes. I have a lot of trauma having just put Gabler at number one. I'm very scared, but he's got the idol, so I hope he pulls through. He's an entertaining.
I think he'll be okay.
After episode 1, are you still rolling with Dwight as your winner pick?
No, I think I'm gonna swap. I would like to see Dwight in the final. I do think I'm gonna go with Ellie. I think she's a wonderful. Truthfully, I'm torn between Ellie and Carla. I think Ellie and Carla are in the best position, which I love because I would love to see another year where I would love to see. I would love to see a Big Brother female winner and a Survivor female winner all within like a couple months of each other. That would be amazing.
I can't remember. When was the last time a woman won Big Brother since Taylor? Nicole Franzel?
Casey Clark.
Oh yeah, okay. 20,
and I'll never forget.
Which was still 4 years ago. And I mean, celebrity doesn't really count, but Misha and
Misha did win.
But again, like that's celebrity. It's such a condensed, different version. But
I'll never get over
that was
it.
Survivor. That was a long episode. But again, like there are 2 weeks where all the shows are on at once, and we just had to talk about it. Yeah. But now we won't have to talk about Big Brother. We won't talk about Bachelorette anymore. It'll just be Survivor, Amazing Race, and Bachelor in Paradise. Well, hey Zach, Celebrity Big Brother's right around the corner, and applications are right around the corner too. We're gonna get on those applications. We're gonna be on Big Brother next season. CBS cast us, and don't let anyone know we are friends or related because
we wore green on the same night by accident.
If we go into the house, I mean, the good thing is we're not biologically related, so like.
No, we are not.
Really think we're actual brothers, but again, we have to just pretend like we don't know each other. But if anyone's watching this,
CBS, I'm ready to play
with us. That's going to be crazy. But yeah, put me on Survivor, put him on Big Brother, and then let us do the
CBS,
Amazing Race together. Let us
ready.
win the Amazing Race, and then he can go on Survivor. I can go on Big Brother. After that, so that's going to be our trajectory. I'll play Survivor, you play Big Brother, we win it, and then we go on Amazing Race as the first ever winner team, and we win Amazing Race, and then I will have won 2 shows, you will have won 2 shows, and then I will go on Big Brother, you will go on Survivor, and you will be the first boot of Survivor. I will be the first boot of Big Brother. That's how it's going to work because we're such big threats. That is Recipe for Reality. Zach, really quickly, where can they find you? I'm sorry I took so much of your time tonight, but this was a lot of fun, especially for my girl.
You know where it's at. You know where it's at. I would do anything to talk more about Taylor. What a good player. I can't wait. I can't wait for Taylor's return segment next year when she either hosts a competition or they bring her in to talk about the game because she's just such a great speaker. You know where you can find me at that Twitter thing where I tweeted about the season a little bit this year. I was a little off my Big Brother game this season, which was a little sad because just the world was falling down around me as the summer was the busiest summer I've had in a very long time. But you can find me at the Twitter. You can find me at TikTok on my TikTok at ZLove with 3 E's and a 39 at the end. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. You can find me at Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter. That's where I post most of my reality TV stuff. And then here on the channel, Zach and I are going to try to do a weekly show. It looks like weekends we will be able to squeeze it in at some point because I don't really work a lot on the weekends. And Zach,
and I don't work on the weekends at all.
Awesome. And I do appreciate Zach for being so flexible with my schedule. This summer was just busy for both of us. We were doing so many shows. Zach, how many shows were you in this summer?
Just one. It was one show. Well. No, that wasn't this summer though. That was SpongeBob. It was only SpongeBob this summer, but I was also directing a kids show, producing a kids show.
There we go. And applying for a great new job that you have, and you're amazing at.
And applying for a job and trying to go on vacation to keep my sanity.
And so I'm sorry that we couldn't get more stuff out there because I was so busy with shows, you were so busy with shows, and just other life things. But we're back.
It's fine. It's going to be fine.
We're back into the grind of, it's the fall again. And I love the fall for its atmosphere and because Survivor's on. But I'm going to miss Big Brother. But it was such a great season to talk about. And we'll talk more about it, I assume, later on. If we have some dead time between seasons, maybe we'll do like some Big Brother rankings down the line of like our top 10 winners, our top 10 seasons, our top 10 players to never win, our top 10 players first boots or something like that. That'd be fun. Because I think both of us have a little bit more breadth of knowledge for Big Brother. You will catch up with Survivor someday because you're going to sit down and watch all 42 seasons someday. But
I am going to do that.
Yeah, but I'll give you the seasons to start with. Start with 15 and then work your way to 20, 15 through 20, and then you can skip to like 31 through 33 or something and then call it a day.
You're just going to have to write that down for me.
Yeah, there are some great seasons, but that is all from us. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for everyone who was live. I forgot to put this comment up here. Tasha Love says, I was surprised Joseph didn't win America's Favorite. Any relation to you, Zach Love?
No, Tasha. Tasha and I are not friends or related, but we could be.
I was surprised he wasn't top 3. I mean, you look at Jokers, which is like the website that tracks it. Joseph has been in number 1 since his eviction week. So like, I'm shocked. Even Taylor was number 1 on Jokers. So I'm honestly surprised. I think a lot of Joseph supporters though went to Taylor.
I'm gonna say for truth, I'm going to say I think CBS was trying to do some damage control for Kyle. I don't think he was actually a very high vote getter, but I think they were trying to do some. Yeah, I think they were trying to do some damage control for them, and I think that's very noble of CBS, but also let them have repercussions.
Well, because if you look on Jokers, right now, number one is actually Turner. Turner is number one.
That's great. Everyone's very thankful that Turner gave us a great end to the season.
Yeah, hold on, wait. Turner is number one. Joseph is number two. Michael number three. Taylor number four. Alyssa number five. Kyle number six. Brittany number seven. Pooch number eight. Monty's at 9, Amira at 10. Then we have Indy, Paloma, Terrence, Jasmine, Daniel, and Nicole is dead last. Nicole is the last one.
I cannot believe that Amira is higher than last because her shade tonight was not great.
Her shade. Ooh, we'll get there.
We didn't even talk about.
She brought up the showmance, which she's a viewer.
Yeah, but we all know why she did that. We all know why she did that.
Trying to start drama. Anyway, I don't want to put it out there in case she listens. And here's another thing I'll say before we go: if anyone has any connections to any of the cast of Big Brother,
please, I would love to
let us know. I'd love to get some on here to ask about their seasons. Like, I really love this cast. Even the worst players, I'd love to get on to just pick their brains and see what they would change, especially the ones who were in jury and got to kind of reflect with everyone else, like Jasmine, Kyle. Like, I'd love to even pick their brains and see, what their thoughts are after this season. But yeah, literally let us know. I had a text from my friend Haley, who lives in Massachusetts, said she literally had a friend who went to the rug shop that Turner owns in Massachusetts. So, like, she knows someone who knows Turner. So I'm going to try to reach out and see if I can maybe get Turner on the pod. If not, it's no big deal. But if you guys have any connections to anyone out there that might be willing to do an interview, the only one I don't really want to interview is Paloma, because I don't really, I don't know what you ask.
Who?
Paloma, just because I think that's kind of like outside. Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. But like anyone else who actually played the game, like, I'd love to, just because Paloma, it's such a different game. I don't think we're going to get a lot out of answers for that because so much was behind the scenes there. But anyone else, I'd love to really pick their brains and get to know what they were thinking this season. Also, Pooch, our friend Charlotte ran into Pooch at a club. So
that's true.
They're out there. They're real people. But yeah, let's put this to bed. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. Thank you all for listening.
Good night. Go to bed.
Good night. Bye.